All right. Welcome everybody to another BDA Boxing Podcast, brought to you from the true North, Canada. This is Mr. BDA with you as always, and with me, as always, my co-host King Bucho. King, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Sensational. Let's get down to business, guys. Before we get started, if you want to join us, you know the usual drill. You go to Google Hangouts, send us an instant message via the email address. It's on the top of your screen. That's boxingdebate@hotmail.com. I will repeat it, boxingdebate@hotmail.com. It's scrolling all the time right there on the top of your screen. You can see it right now. Send us an instant message and use your email, first time users. And after that, we get to send you an invite. Simple as that. Now, I know some people might be thinking, well, you know, what are we going to talk about? Well, I'll tell you what. So a lot of it, there might not be that many fights tonight, not a great variety, but there's a little something for everybody. Let me tell you something right now. The type of fights there's three type of fights that Mr. BDA likes. Number one is fights between two guys that come forward, that are sure to ensure action, right? Number two, fat, sloppy heavyweights who fight dirty. Think Golada versus Ruiz. I know they're not fat, but you know what I mean. And number three, a fight between a prospect who has a bright future ahead of him, all the potential in the world, all the possibilities, all the doors opening for him, against a guy who used to have those opportunities open, a former prospect, a once beaten prospect. These are the type of fights that I enjoy a lot and that I look forward to. And we got that tonight on ESPN at 8 p.m. Jose Ramirez, 21-0 with 16 knockouts, takes on Amir Imam, 21-1 with 18 knockouts. So it's gonna be an interesting fight. It should be an interesting fight. Maybe not the best action type fight, but like I said, you got a prospect who has all the opportunities in the world. You have a former prospect who wants to regain it all. And so we'll see what happens. Butch, are you looking forward to that one?
Yes, sir. It's gonna be a good fight. It's gonna be explosive.
Now, is there the possibility, as always, that the prospect who looks at Imam and thinks, oh, well, this guy's been beaten once, it's going to be an easy fight for me, or not necessarily an easy fight, but it's a given that I'm going to win this fight. Is it possible he comes here a little overconfident?
Confident?
Overconfident.
Yeah, it's possible. But regardless, I think it's going to be a very good fight.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get into the news right away. There's a little something for everybody too. Right now there's UFC going on in England. There's still about 3 fights before the main event between Fabricio Verdum, the former UFC heavyweight champion, taking on Alexander Volkov. And from what I can see, I don't know much about Volkov. I've never seen him fight. Again, not that knowledgeable in MMA. I can't keep up with all the fights going on. But the guy is 6'7" from Russia. And he's got a record of 29 wins, 6 losses, but he hasn't lost since July 2015. So interesting fight right there. Might catch it tomorrow if I have the time or after the fight. Let's get down to the news, because again there are a lot of goings on. So of course, as many of you know, Adrian Broner will be taking on Jesse Vargas. That's going to be an interesting fight. Some bad news from the boxing world. Virgil Hunter hospitalized due to a health scare, according to Boxing Scene. They're not saying exactly what happened to him. I don't think the family wants to disclose it, but good news is that he is recovering. So it wasn't a fatal or life-changing, physically life-changing from what I can read. So good for Virgil Hunter. We hope he makes it out of there in good condition. Also, a WBC test, well, not a WBC test, but a third test has cleared Canelo of any wrongdoing, according to recent reports. And I was reading an interview where a woman was interviewing. It was an article of a woman interviewing Canelo, and Canelo said, and I'm quoting here what he said. He said, "We knew we were always clean, and we knew that history and the law was going to absolve us. I have never done anything illegal," he says. The only thing that I can understand why people suspected us, Canelo went on to say, because I was beefing up in order to counter Golovkin's strength. And then he went on to say, I inject a lot of passion into my training and I don't do anything that is illegal or that is morally wrong, he said. We always get positive results from our training, and so that's the way it goes. Now the interviewer says that every time Canelo said positive or inject or beef, he was winking. At one point, the woman says, Canelo yelled at the members of his entourage to lower the stereo, please. It's too loud. So, as you can see, Canelo has been vindicated, according to... I don't even know. I have to check exactly who said it. I don't have the article in front of me, but those are the news going on with Canelo. Supposedly, he has been vindicated. And look, we have to go by the official results here. But come on. I don't want to be a negative Nancy here, but there's still a big cloud of doubt hanging over everything he does. The tests don't lie. Right, Bucho? Am I wrong here? Or what's it going to take?
You're 100% correct.
But what would it take? Actually, I already know your answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What's it going to take for Golovkin to... for Canelo to clear his name 100%? Hair
testing.
Exactly.
They say that you do a hair test. That hair test can tell you what you've taken like the past several months.
Mm-hmm.
So that would clear his name if he passes that test. He could also do like what Donaire was doing, a 365-day testing, like random testing.
Right.
So you never know when they're gonna show up. He could do those two things.
Exactly. That's what it's going to take. The hair test. Because it would have told us, or it might still tell us, whether if indeed the clenbuterol was in his system, which it was. That's beyond the doubt that there was clenbuterol in his system. When did he take it? What quantities did he take? Apparently it would answer a lot. But of course, I don't think that's going to happen. So that's what we got.
Or random testing, like during the summer, what the fuck was Canelo doing? We don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Because he always fights in May and September. What happened between those months?
Exactly.
What happened between September and May? Come on. He only starts doing testing like a few weeks before the fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or several weeks. So, I don't know. It should be random testing throughout the whole year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not real testing. We know what he's doing. If indeed he's doing something after, if they take a test after, it could have been out of his system by
exactly. They time it.
Mm-hmm.
By the time they start testing them for the fight, he's already clean.
Exactly. So, it's a whole Mickey Mouse type of shindig they got going on over there. I don't like it. People don't like it either. But what are we gonna do? Can we force something? Can we boycott the fight? There's a lot of possibilities there. But then again, I don't know. And by the way, when I started telling the news at the beginning of the show, there were two pieces of news there that were true and one that was made up. And it's up to you guys in the listeners to decide which one is which. All right? Last week too, in the last podcast we did, also there were 2 bits of real news and 1 bit of false news. Yeah, so this is a little test for you guys to really get your critical thinking skills going, your media critical thinking skills, and discern the good news from the fake news. Let's see what's going on in the chat room. Shout out to Tim DeBell, Jim Bowen, Kaiser Koba, and the Mr. Coxey, Michael Stott as well. Let's see what they're saying. I don't know, they're talking about a Muslim guy. Jim Bowen says his real name is Derek. I don't know what they're talking about. Mr. Coxey says WBC and VADA clearing Vanello is disgusting. He was cleared without a hair or blood test. Jim Bowen says... Okay, they're talking about something else. Kaiser Koba says the coup d'etat against Golovkin is being put in place. That's a theory that's going on. There's a lot of factions and a lot of gears moving to be against Gennady Golovkin. Mr. Coxey continues saying, hair test for sure, but Canelo won't do it because he is scared. Test him at least twice a day for 5 years. He is a cheat. Shout out to Del Boy who just came in. and Michael Stott, who's saying, what the fuck? Okay, I made it. Look, this whole Gennady Golovkin-Canelo thing is really putting a stick into my craw, man, because I was looking forward to this fight. It was bad enough that there was a bad decision the first time. But now we got this whole thing with the first of all, if you want to ignore the thing about the hand wraps, alright, fine. But you still got this whole thing about testing. And Louis Blanc says, some people are saying that Triple G fans are searching for an excuse for but it's very irritating. It's very irritating. Look, if indeed there are people saying that Triple G fans are just looking for an excuse, how about this? How about they allow both guys to juice? Really, it would be about time. They both have the resources to be able to cheat, so why not let them cheat? Kaiser Kobe says, I'm not in the loop about the hand wrap things. What is that? Well, to answer your question, there was a video by Artorias Boxing. I think that's how you spell his name. And he made a video about that they showed backstage how Canelo was getting his hands wrapped, and they were huge. Huge hand wraps. And Evil Sanchez came out about, I think, 2 weeks ago, and he said that he had told the commissioner, or the commission, the Las Vegas State Athletic Commission, that the hand wraps were too thick. It's what they call stacking, meaning you're putting tons and tons more tape and gauze than it's allowed. So you create like a cast, essentially. And so he complained, and one of the commissioners told him, listen, if you don't shut up, I'm going to get you out of here. And Evil Sanchez said, but it's illegal. And the guy supposedly said, listen, I've been doing this for 2 years. I know what I'm doing. And so that's the way they're running things in Las Vegas, according to Abel Sanchez. And if you look at Artori's video, you can see those hand wraps look pretty big. Pretty big. Now, of course, professional hand wraps are always going to be relatively thick because the guys who wrap the hands, some of them, the good ones, have a lot of experience and they know how to protect the hands and how to get the most type of cushioning available. That being said, some of these commissioners don't even know what they're doing. They don't even know what they're looking at, essentially. But you look at those hand wraps from Canelo, they do look bigger than usual, than normal, than the standard. It's not the first time that hand wraps for Canelo were an issue. In 2014, Ronnie Shields, the trainer of Erislan de Lara, also complained. And I believe nothing was done about it. Virgil Hunter complained about it against Mikkel Kessler when his fighter Andrew Ward took on Kessler back in the Super 6 tournament. I think it was 2009. And Timothy Bradley accused Pacquiao of doing the same thing, of stacking. And if you want to go back to 2001, I should say, when Nassim Richardson, part of Hopkins' entourage at that point, he wasn't a trainer, he also accused Trinidad of illegal hand wrapping, and they had to redo them all over again, I believe, if I remember correctly. So it's something that's been going on with hand wraps and the legality of what the standard should be. So there's that issue there. Now you got the bad decision, right, from the first fight between Canelo and Golovkin, and then you have now this positive test, which really is ruining the fight. But then again, look, people have said it before. If you're juicing in baseball, okay, you break Babe Ruth's record or whoever else's record there is. I don't know who has the record, but let's say, okay, baseball, you break the record. The NBA, okay, you break the record for most consecutive baskets in a quarter or something, right? Okay, you're not hurting anybody really physically. Combat sports, boxing, MMA, whole different thing. If you have an advantage, you can hurt somebody else. Now, again, the worst thing that can happen to somebody in boxing is a long beating. If you get knocked out cold, that the beating ends right there. And yes, maybe the fall to the canvas can actually exacerbate a concussion or something. That's bad. But there's really, you look at how many times somebody has died is because of a long, steady beating. Now, suppose that somebody comes in having used EPO, which increases your stamina, and God knows what else the person might have taken, which allows them to increase their endurance, their stamina, their strength. And the other guy physically is not as strong or as durable, but he's got heart and he sticks in there and he keeps taking a beating and a beating and a beating for 8, 9, 10, 11 rounds. That's the type of beating that can result in death. And if the other person was juiced and that advantage allowed him to beat the other guy to death, that's criminal right there. That's murder. Because it no longer stands between the parameters of fighting, of you know, a decision that was made by both guys to take the risk of fighting each other. Now there was a risk that none of them had agreed to, which is that one guy has an unusual advantage due to PEDs. Now I know some of you guys already know this, what I'm saying, but there's a lot of people that don't quite understand what the difference between juicing, taking steroids or whatever performance-enhancing drugs in combat sports, and taking in a sport where the worst thing you can do is break somebody's record, maybe break their heart. Here you can break somebody's soul, you can kill somebody. Mr. Cox says, I hope Canelo goes to sleep anyway. Michael Stott says, I hear it's not difficult to work for the commission. Yeah, it must. Yeah, there's a lot of, from what I have, the articles that I've read through the years is that it's like politics, really. It's very political. It's who you know, who you've worked for, what you've done for me lately, and that's how you get to the top. I mean, you look at Texas, which a lot of people consider to be one of the worst commissions, one of the most able or willing, maybe, to conduct dirty business in terms of the results that they produce. Dick Cole is a commissioner, and his son, Lawrence Cole, is one of the referees. Now, this guy has... Hey, listen, everybody has a bad day in the office, right? There's these referees. It's hard in the moment to really know what to do. Fine, everybody makes mistakes every once in a while, but this guy has made some blunders in the past. And the word around town is that the guy is only a referee, and he only gets big assignments because his father is a commissioner. Michael Stott says 100 miles per hour fastballs hurt, dude. Yeah, that's true. I do remember that video from the 90s, I believe, where somebody in baseball, somebody threw a pitcher threw a fastball or something, and it hit a bird. The fucking bird. What the worst timing in the world, this bird. Flew by, got hit by the ball, paf, feathers all over the place. I don't think the bird made it. So yeah, those things can be lethal, but come on. It's not the same thing here. Recognize the Matrix, shout out to Recognize the Matrix. It's like the first fight, the second one will be stacked against Triple G. Can Canelo pull it off? Canelo, he said. Can Canelo pull it off? That's the real question. Tim DeBell says, pretty much, who else had things so blatantly against him like this? They might as well blindfold Triple G and tie a hand behind his back, or one hand behind his back. The opposite might go, though. We might see things going the other way, however. I mean, remember, this is what I was talking about with Precise, which is that what if, now that everybody's got their eyes on the corruption, maybe they overcompensate for Canelo to try to show that they're fair and balanced. I mean, for Golovkin, they try to overcompensate for Golovkin, and they end up, maybe Canelo actually ends up winning the fight, and they give it to Golovkin. You never know. Those are the type of things that can happen. I see that we have Stu on the line. Stu, are you there?
Yep.
All right, man. Thanks for being here. Oh boy, hold on a second. What's that? Can you hear us?
There's an echo when I talk.
Okay, yeah, I think that
I can hear you, but there's an echo.
Yeah, I think that might go away. Meanwhile, let's warm up by playing your intro.
If Wilder took that shot, well, we wouldn't be talking about a Joshua Wilder fight. We'd be talking about when's Wilder getting out of his coma.
There we go. We have Stu on the line. As always, very entertaining. Luis Blas says, hey BDA, I saw the movie Aries. It's nice, not amazing, but nice. Okay, thanks for telling me, because I didn't know, I hadn't seen the movie. I'd only seen the trailer and read the synopsis, so if it's a piece of trash, then I'm not going to waste my time watching it. But if it's so-so and I have some time, why not? I'll put it in. Alright, Stu, we got some things going on here.
Yes.
I don't know, first of all, let's talk about, you know, we've talked with you before about political correctness and how people are so too sensitive nowadays. Did you hear the comments that Isaac Dogboe, who is going to be taking on Diego Magdaleno or Jesse Magdaleno, I always confuse the names, he's going to be taking one of the Magdalenos at 122 pounds for a world title. And did you hear what Dogboe's father said?
Sorry.
Well, Dogboe said, because Magdaleno is of Mexican descent, so Dogboe's father, they're Ghanaian, by the way, he said, we hope Magdaleno doesn't run like a chicken. We hope he doesn't turn into a chicken. We're going to beat him up. We're going to throw him over the wall into Mexico, and then we're going to present the belt to Donald Trump. Now, I'm Mexican. Bucho's Mexican. I found that funny. I don't see how the guy, somebody could interpret that as racist. I mean, it's What? Because he said Mexican and wall and Trump. I mean, come on. I thought it was funny. I thought it was creative. Well, it set off a firestorm. People forced them. People questioned Doug Boas after the statement, saying, "Hey, what are you saying that? What are you saying that for?" Blah blah blah. And Doug Boas Senior semi-apologized, a little passive-aggressive, you ask me. But then Magdaleno and
I mean, I think,
yeah, but hold on. But
yeah, I just think the
Magdaleno.
problem with
Hold on, Magdaleno just said then that he took. Magdaleno says he's taking it personal, and that he's gonna lay down a beating to Isaac the Boy for what he said. Now, I mean, come on. Do you think they're exaggerating a little bit?
I mean, are you there, boys?
Mm-hmm.
Are you there?
Yeah, we're here. We're here.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. I mean, let's be real. Anyone in life who's happy with life and how they live get offended by stupid little petty comments.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because life's too important to be getting offended by. But a lot of people have got no lives, so their lives revolve around being offended because it actually makes their life worthwhile.
Right.
While they can play the victim, they're getting their own way.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem, I mean, a lot of minorities have been given the green light by the white liberals to play the victim and play the racism card.
Uh-huh.
And boy, do they know how to play it. I mean, they're masters at it. And you know, at the end of the day, I like Mexican people. I do. I like all people. But you know, I've seen enough comments about the Brits and people talking about white people. It just don't really bother me that much. I get offended when it gets to deep racism, you know, and talking about white devils and talking about the white women and all. I do get offended by that because it goes below the belt. But when it's just taking a pop at the British about this and that and about our teeth and everything else, my life's too complete to be getting offended by shit like that. You know what I mean? So these people really need to take a chill pill. It's only, you know, it's a bit of fucking banter. Bernard Hopkins told Calzaghe and the whole world he's never going to lose to a white boy. Nothing was said. Nothing. So Mike Tyson was repulsive, some of the things he used to say. But nothing was said. You know, but we're in an era now where it's just easy to be offended, and if you're sitting there online fucking putting everyone right, you know, trying to be a do-gooder, then you're a fucking sad piece of shit, and you're a low life, and I wish nothing but the worst in life for you.
Well, there you go, Stu, laying it down. I agree with what you're saying about it's usually people that have no lives. They're professional, what do they call them? Professional
victims.
Victims, yeah.
Professional.
Listen, a victim can do no wrong, though. So by taking the victim position, they are innocent of everything, right? They're the victims. They can't do no wrong. But sometimes these victims are actually the most racist people out there.
Right.
Have you noticed that?
Spot on, brother. Spot on in what you've just said there. The problem is, a lot of these people that play the victim card are the worst for it. Are the biggest racists you'll ever meet in your life, but it's been bred in them because they can get away with it because the white guilt liberals have let them get away with it. We're in a society now where white people can't say, if you're a white straight male, then just keep your mouth shut because you ain't entitled to say nothing. And this is the society we're in. Yeah,
but listen, I mean, like for example, Keep the Maggie on me. Shout out to Keep That Maggie says, it's not racist what he said, but it was a shitty thing to say. Yeah, it's true. It might be a shitty thing to say, if you want to put it that way. On the other hand, I look at it from the context of boxing and show business. I mean, this is Doug Bowe's first fight in the United States that I know of. And it was supposed to come on the undercard of Crawford Horn. But now that fight has been postponed, so has the Doug Bowe versus Magdaleno fight. But in the moment, in the context, it was going to be under a big fight on ESPN. And so I think Doug Bowe was just really... Doug Bowe's father, I should say. It wasn't Doug Bowe that said it, was Doug Bowe's father. And he was just trying to drum up a little, you know, showmanship.
I mean, I think anyone that mentions Trump is in for a fucking hard time. I mean, can you remember Angel Garcia when he mentioned Trump?
No.
I mean, everyone turned on him. They went to despair on him.
Ah, okay,
you know,
okay,
racist Angel Garcia, and you know, they called him everything. The minute anyone mentions Trump, then you're in trouble.
Right.
Because that's how it's become in America. It's become so pathetically correct. And Trump's he's far from political correct. He's the opposite, and they hate everything Trump stands for, because he stands for, whether you like Trump or not, Trump can be a bit of a dick. Let's not pretend here. But whether you like him or not, he stands for free speech.
Right.
You know, and as soon as you start taking our freedom of speech away, well, I can't say I don't like someone. I mean, if I say I don't like someone, automatically these people think it's because of the colour of their skin or their religion or anything. No, because there's white people I don't fucking like. You've got to be able to dislike someone that's not the same as you for more reasons than race. I mean, like, why do a lot of these people expect you to like them? I don't expect people to like white people. I don't. So why do you expect me to like you? So, and that's my, you know, you should have a freedom of thought. You know, it goes deep, but that's my opinion. You know, why do you want people to accept you and like you? Just get on with your day. You know, at the end of the day, these white supremacists are not going to hold you back in life. They're not. If you go to work and do the right things in life and look after your family, just like many of you guys across the pond who come from Mexico have done, then the white man's not going to hold you back.
And by the way, you know, again, I keep it in the context of boxing. Did he overshoot the line a little bit with the comments? Maybe. But it's boxing. He was just trying to get people riled up, to get to come see. Listen, it's a bunch of guys, super bantamweights. Then they don't necessarily make a million pay-per-view buys all the time, these guys. So they have to drum up a little controversy. That's all. Now look, moving on from that one fight, we do have other fights. For example, fuck. I can't believe I'm getting the name wrong. Can you believe that? I gotta look up the name again.
It's a hard one.
No, Amir Imam. Amir. But you know what? I'd said it right before. All of a sudden, boom, mental freezing or whatever. Jose Ramirez taking on Amir Imam. It's really the only big fight tonight, but I think it's gonna be an interesting fight. Undefeated prospect against a former prospect. What do you think about that fight, Stu? How do you see it going?
He is. He's a very, very slick guy, very, very good boxer. But I just think when it comes to digging deep, there's just nothing in the tank. I mean, we see against, was it Adrian Granados?
Yeah.
That he got beat? Yeah, I mean, that was, he looked a lot better boxer in that fight. He was far more skilled. But when it come to digging deep, Granados brought the fight to him. And for me, his heart failed him, if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Well, I suppose you could say also the stamina too.
You go on. Well, you know, like I said, you've got to have an engine. You've got to be tough. You've got to have a lot of tools to be at the top. And you know, skills don't always pay the bills. I mean, there's a saying in boxing: skills pay the bills. No, they don't. Because you can be the most skilled guy around, but you've got no heart and desire. Andre Durrell, a prime example. You know, he's more of that. I think when he's in deep water, he drowns quickly.
Well, okay, that's the thing. First of all, we got Michael on the line. Michael, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, thanks for being here, man. We're talking about tonight's fight between Amir Imam and Jose Ramirez. Now, by the way, I want to get back to what you said, Stu, about, because we talked about this, I think it was 2 weeks ago, about how in boxing you have to be the complete package to be one of the best. Not only, listen, and this is what people miss all the time. When we talk about certain fighters and they go, oh, this guy sucks, oh, this guy's overrated, this guy's this guy's that. Well, people need to remember how hard it is just to make it as a top 10 guy in the division. There's, you know, 30, 40, 50 top boxers out there all vying for position for a title. And even I criticize titles all the time. But even I recognize just to get a title is hard enough. So when you get a guy like Amir Imam who lost to Granados, a lot of people say, oh, Granados sucks. He lost to Broner, he lost to Porter. But look, in those two losses, he actually handled himself pretty well. Porter couldn't get his way with him as easily as he wanted to. Broner was struggling as well. It was a very tough fight. There's a lot of people even that think Granados should have won. I'm not one of them, but you know that's what people think. That's how close the fight was. So Granados is a tough outing for anybody. So for Amir Imam to lose to him, again, it doesn't mean he's a bad fighter, but it just means, like you said, so there's something missing there, like his heart, his stamina, something let him go. And Granados is a tough guy. A lot of stamina, high work rate. Then again, he might have learned something from going through that fire. Yes, he didn't make it through the fire, but maybe now it awakens him and motivates him even more. I mean, I don't know, Michael, would you agree with what I just said?
I'm sorry, what was the last part?
About how maybe the loss actually rejuvenated or revitalized Amir Imam.
Amir Imam?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. I think people overlooking this fight, thinking it's an easy fight for Jose Ramirez, it probably isn't fair enough for Amir Imam, because I think he does deserve this other opportunity to show. Maybe just the loss against Granados was just a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we saw what happened to Lomachenko losing against Salido.
Mm-hmm.
He came back, and he realized that he needed to improve and he needed to work quicker during the fight. Now we could wind up seeing the same result tonight with Ramirez, beating Imam like the way Granados did.
Mm-hmm.
But tonight will really show us what type of fighter Amir Imam really is in the junior welterweight division.
Well, how about Ramirez? Because he's the guy that's got the spotlight on him. Like, he's supposed to be the guy that's going to win tonight also. So there's a lot of questions about him as well. Have you guys seen him fight before?
I've seen Ramirez fight. I've been following closely since he's been a prospect. He wasn't too eye-catching to me when I saw him as a prospect. I thought he was a very good come-forward fighter, but I didn't see much more from him during those two fights. Now, he's trained by Freddie Roach, so I would assume that he will be getting the most out of Ramirez
Mm-hmm.
in terms of his offensive ability and offensive output. He looked pretty good against Mike Reed, but how good really is Mike Reed though? He just suffered a loss last week, his second loss in a row. So it's still going to be tough to say what these fighters are going to be after this fight. But if I had to pick an advantage, I think Ramirez wins this fight.
So Ramirez wins this fight. Now, I mean, what type of win? How does he win?
I'll say 10th or 11th round TKO.
So you see Adrian Granados like qualities in Ramirez, or that Ramirez is actually better than Granados?
That's still tough to put in perspective, because I mean Ramirez just came from being being a prospect to a contender just this whole year, just last year when he beat Mike Reed. So I don't know, it's gonna be interesting. That's why I'm interested in seeing this fight, and for someone to say that Ramirez is gonna win easily is not that they're wrong, but I don't see that happening yet until I see both these guys fight each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good way of looking at it. Stu, how about you? Would you agree with that? Because I mean, Jose Ramirez, that's why he's fighting a guy like Imam. Because yes, Imam, he might not have the heart, but at least we know he does have physical talent. And against Granados, he didn't just lie down and lose. He actually put up a good fight, and he was actually winning some of the early rounds and managed to drop Granados early. So do you see this as a good test for both guys?
For me, it's a 50-50 fight. I don't think any of them have actually proved themselves at the top level yet.
Mm-hmm.
They're both, let's be real, I mean, there's no great wins on their resumes, and there's a devastating KO on one of their resumes against Granados, which is, like someone said in the chat, I just had a look at the chat quickly. I've had to prop it off because my signal's probably not stronger. But he was saying that Granadas is a very good fighter, and he is. He is a fighter. But if you want to be at the world class level, you know, the championship level, where you're going to hold a belt and reign for a while, then you've got to be getting the Adrian Granadas out of it, or beating them easily on points at least. But that weren't the case. I just think you've got to be. I think it's an Andre Durrell thing, bro. I just think as soon as the kitchen gets hot, he's jumping out the window.
I'd never heard that one before. As soon as the kitchen gets hot, he jumps out the window. Well, you know, the thing with Imam is, and I mean with Ramirez, I've seen his fights. Like you guys said, he hasn't faced any really tough opposition. He's stopped guys. You can tell he's got good power and he goes to the body pretty well. The thing with guys like that, however, is unless you have super fast hands or super heavy hands, a lot of power, it's hard to look impressive. You know what I mean? Because Ramirez, you can tell he's going to be the type of guy that grinds guys down at the higher level, or if he gets to the higher level. So we don't know when you have to judge a guy like that, you have to see whether he has got a good defense, whether he can adapt when a fight gets tough, whether he can outsmart, outpressure, outwork his opponents when the going gets tough. So I'm looking forward to this fight because it's going to tell us about what exactly Ramirez has in the tank, whether he can adapt, whether he can face somebody with fast hands. Because the last guy he fought, or his best opponent so far, what was his name again? Mike Reed. Yes, Mike Reed. He had fast hands, but he was Mike Reed, and nothing against the guy, but classic, you know, that American style where it's about pumping you with a little shot and getting out of the way, trying to do the shoulder roll, you know, activity, not a lot of punching power. So Ramirez was able to walk through the guy. Amir Imam seems to have more pop on his shots. So we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what type of test he can give Ramirez. That being said, both of these guys are fighting at 140 pounds. Now, we talked about this, I think, last week, how, and you know, like Reverse Lee, one of our panelists, said that it's a pretty shitty division. But I would disagree. I mean, it's not the worst division in the world. It's actually starting to look pretty good. I mean, look, we have Jose Ramirez, who's going to be fighting tonight. We have, what's his name, Josh Taylor, who's looking pretty good. Antonio Orozco, who just won last night against nondescript opposition, but he's undefeated, 26-0, 17 knockouts. When he's on, he's on. We still have Postal. We have Regis Prograis, who is number 2 based on his win over Indongo last week. Now, I know people say Indongo sucks, but whether he sucks or not, Prograis was able to put on a show last week. And then, of course, you have Mikey Garcia. So it's gonna look like it's starting to look like a nice division. I don't know if you guys can see the positive and beyond the lack of big names.
Josh Taylor looks like he's going to be a decent fighter. He seems to have the tools, this guy. I mean, I like him. I really do. I mean, he made mincemeat of O'Hara Davis. I mean, a lot of people were picking O'Hara Davis to win that fight, and well, it was a demolition job. And he did the same to Miguel Vasquez.
Right.
I mean, Miguel Vasquez, very tricky customer. No one really ever looks good against him. I mean, he's probably the most boring Mexican fighter of all time.
Yeah, I think.
But you know, he got results. He was difficult to beat. And Josh Taylor, well, I can't remember the last time Vasquez got stopped, but I know Josh Taylor stopped him with a body shot, ferocious body shots. So he looks like he could be because we obviously know all about Mikey Garcia. And then you've got the guys that are up and coming, where they're hovering around the world title level, and they're all got to fight amongst themselves to see who's in that top bracket. You know, because obviously Mikey's first, isn't he? And then you've got Postel. See, for me, Postel's an average fighter. I think Josh Taylor would beat Postel. I just don't rate Postel that much.
Right.
There's not a lot there really. You know, we've got a good fight tonight. The winner is obviously going to put himself in a good position. There's not a lot there. There's not a lot there for him to fear, really. I mean, take Mikey out of the picture, and you know they're going to fancy winning all them fights.
No, I get what you're saying, man. Also, let's not forget.
This fight is at 140 or 147.
It's a 140, I think.
You think? Yeah, it's 140, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The ninth main event is at 140.
Yeah, it's at 140. Yeah, because you mean Butcher? You were talking about the Jose Ramirez fight, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
against Imam.
Yeah, it's a 140. Now, also at,
Yeah,
one,
okay.
at 140, we have Ivan Baranchyk, who looked sensational against Peter Petrov. Again, Petrov was a bit of a late replacement, but he looked like he was in shape. He looked like he was ready for a last-minute fight himself. But Baranchyk just looked... You know what Baranchyk reminded me of? He reminded me a little bit of a Russian, or Eastern European, I should say, version of Miguel Berchelt. This guy is long, but he's still strong as well, and he loves to fight on the inside. He's got legitimately heavy hands, and he's a 140 himself. So as you can see, the 140-pound division is starting to look good. It's not the best division in the world because a lot of people don't recognize the names, but there's potential. Like even Stu, even when you said Postal that you think he's average, he's still a name. You know what I mean? So it makes the division a lot more interesting than some people like to think it is. And speaking of that, we were talking about Mikey Garcia and how he's been looking flabby. He looked flabby, I should say. And listen, like I said, I'll reiterate what I always say. When you look flabby during a weigh-in, when you're supposed to be dehydrated and all that, and you're not a heavyweight, and you look flabby, there's something wrong going on. Well, now, lo and behold, after beating, what's his name, Lipinets, Mikey Garcia is saying that he still wants to campaign at 147. Guys, I gotta ask you, is that suicide?
Yeah. So, I mean, 147's got some big, and I just don't, like I said, Mikey, 147 is probably his weight, the way he's looking. Like I said before, very flabby. So that's probably the way he's looking to go. And I just think, boxing frame-wise, he's just not big enough.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are coming down from 160, 165, 170 pounds, and they've got this strong guys, big punches. I mean, Errol Spence, I mean, fucking hell, Keith Thurman. I mean, they're going to tag Mikey up, man. They're going to tag him up.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, I don't think Mikey's really carried his power too much at 140. So at 147, these guys are going to be swallowing his punches.
Yeah. And I had a chance to rewatch the Lipinets fight, the Mikey Garcia Lipinets fight. I thought that was I can't remember the last time Mikey Garcia got touched up so much. I mean, even Adrian Broner, when he tried to rally late in the fight, he landed a couple of shots, but you could see Mark Garcia was still in control. Against Lipinets, he seemed a little lethargic. Mike, what do you think? Well, what did you see in that Mikey Garcia Lipinets fight?
I was actually surprised at how well Mikey Garcia was taking Lipinets' punches. I mean, Sergey was throwing a lot of hard, combinations and right hands at Mikey Garcia, and he was taking them very well. I think his counter left hook, was beautiful when he sent down Lipinets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I wouldn't want Mikey Garcia to move up to 147. Can he beat some 147 pounders? Maybe, but he keeps saying that he wants Spence, and Spence is just gonna run him over like a train.
And that's the other thing with Mikey Garcia is that, okay, he says, like you said, he says he wants to fight Spence, but he's been talking a lot in the past about, I want this guy, I want that guy, and it never happens. I mean, and we've talked about this before in the podcast. I mean, is he all talk right now, or do you think he legitimately wants to face some of the best names out there?
I mean,
well, I think precise. Oh, sorry, bro. Go on.
No. Go ahead, Stu.
I just did a video about it, about Mikey Garcia, and it was spot on. I mean, when you look at his career, his whole of his career, he's avoided the top guys. He's moved divisions if he's had to. He's took breaks if he's had to. It just don't seem to ever fight anyone decent. I mean, when we look at his last fights, I mean, since he's come back, there's no one there really, is there? I mean, you're waiting for him to have that big changing fight that's going to tell us how good Mikey Garcia is, but he just keeps pulling these bums out, and before you know it, he's going to be too small for 147, too big for 140, and past his best. So, I mean, how long we got to wait to see this guy fight anyone? So he can call out all these people like he has done for years. He's been calling out people for years, but there's never any action.
Yeah, man. I mean, so it begs the question: what exactly? Like we talked about, I asked the question last week. What is the end game here for Mikey Garcia? Is he just looking to have a couple of easy fights and then cash out against Lomachenko, or is he really up for it? You know. So he's one of the big names at 140 pounds. He is rated number 1 according to Ring Magazine, but again, he has to start showing us something because again, Lipinets, former kickboxer, not a lot of experience. Yes, he does have potential. He's got good skills, but he gave Mikey Garcia a tougher fight than expected. So I don't know, bad day at the office, or is 140 pounds his ceiling?
I mean, I would like for him to make up his mind because what I would like for him to do is, if he's gonna either his next fight is a pivotal on what he is gonna do next. I mean, either go back down to 135 and try to clean out that division, or stay at 140 and clean out that division. I mean, I think 140 now is becoming a little bit more deeper than when Terrence Crawford was, dominating that division. I just don't see what that does for his career to jump around and weight and so forth and fight these different guys, and they're not the best in their own divisions. So Mikey Garcia hasn't fought the best 135 pounder yet. Mikey Garcia hasn't fought the best 140 pound fighter yet. When he goes up to 147, I don't think he won't beat the best 147 pounder. He needs to, but then again, he's been on record saying that he doesn't care much about boxing, and it's more of a business to him. And sure enough, he's treating it more like a business, because if it wasn't so much as a business to him, he would have fought Jorge Linares last year or early this year instead of fighting Sergey Lipinets.
Right.
But he's had no life to changing fights. A fight what could turn him into a superstar. Years ago he could have took a massive fight that would have turned him into an even bigger name, and he could have made a lot more money for himself. But he has.
Yeah, he talks about.
Go on, Brian.
Yeah, he talks about wanting to be a pay-per-view fighter. I'm not sure why he left Top Rank and Bob Arum. But there's pay-per-view fights there for him to have been had. He could have fought Manny Pacquiao. He could have fought Terrence Crawford. He could have waited to fight Vasyl Lomachenko. There's plenty of there's plenty of fighters to fight, or he could have accepted Golden
Boy's. Mikey Garcia.
Or he could have accepted Golden Boy's offer to fight
the Mexican fan base.
No, he doesn't. He thinks he does. He doesn't. Listen, just because you're Mexican, you're not gonna get the Mexican fan base. I mean, at the beginning when he was at featherweight, he was knocking out some people. He's Mexican descent, so he had a Mexican following. But after that 2-year layoff, where he started fighting nobodies, he lost his fan base, because Mexicans, you're Mexican, that's fine, but you have to fight great fighters. And how do you become a pay-per-view star? You fight the best fighters out there. I mean, it's pretty simple.
This is my point, Butcho. Yeah, like I said, he had the base. He had the bases all round. He had the Mexican fan base there. He could have fought Manny Pacquiao. Can you imagine if he'd have beat Manny Pacquiao?
Oh yeah. Oh fuck yeah, that's it, man.
But he never had these.
Yeah, and then he gets
changing fights.
Yeah, then he gets offered a 3-fight deal with Golden Boy to possibly fight Miguel Cotto, Lucas Matisse, and Jorge Linares, and I think he could have probably beaten all of them in 3 fights, and exactly. he chose not to sign with Golden Boy because he doesn't want to be quote unquote in a contract with a promoter. But then he says he's a free agent, but is only fighting Showtime fighters, which doesn't make any sense. So.
Yeah, I mean the guy went
he talks about business, but he's not done himself any justice when it comes to business, because he could have made a lot more money and been a lot bigger star. I mean, Canelo Alvarez, say what you like about Canelo Alvarez, he could be a cheat, he could wrap his hands different to everybody else, but the fact is, he has fought everybody best, and that is why his numbers are up. Whether you like him or not, people are paying to watch the guy fight. He fights everybody. So we say it like he's fought the best.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, that's something that comes up with Canelo, by the way. People say, I don't like him, I don't do this, but then they always say, but at least, he fights the best. Exactly. Austin Trout, people are saying he should fight Austin Trout. Oh, he's going to avoid Austin Trout. He ended up fighting Austin Trout. He fought Mayweather, he was like 22, 23 years old. Oh, he's avoiding, he doesn't want to fight Lara. He fought Lara. With Golovkin, yeah, it took a bit of like 2 years. Cotto, Golovkin, he fought Golovkin, although it didn't happen immediately as we wanted it to happen, but it happened. So, yeah, you gotta give credit for Canelo for fighting the best. But Mikey Garcia, this motherfucker, he's not doing shit. Nobody's gonna respect him.
Well, I was gonna say, Bucha, that you hit the nail right on the head when what you wrote on the chat room. You said that Mikey Garcia right now, he wants to be Floyd Mayweather. And listen, I can't blame these guys for wanting to go the Floyd Mayweather route, independent, make the most money possible so that when they retire, they're taken care of. But it doesn't work all the time. And look, right now with Mikey Garcia, we all love to talk about how, this guy's avoiding this guy's avoiding that guy. Eventually, the big fights get made. But it is a shame when the fights that could get made right now end up getting stalled because of egos, And Mikey Garcia, at this point, he's the opposite of another guy that used to train with his brother, Fernando Vargas. Fernando Vargas used to fight everybody, and he would give it his all. He actually fought Trinidad when he was, 21 years old or 22, some crazy age like that, very young. He still needed time to mature and develop, but he nevertheless wanted to fight Trinidad. And he gave him a good fight, but he ended up getting knocked out, and he was never the same afterwards. But people, you look at him when he goes out in public, at boxing events, people swarm around him to get his autograph because they really respect the guy. With Mikey Garcia, you get the impression that there's a lot of Mexicans that root for him just because, he's Mexican, but he, like Bucho said, like you guys repeated, he's not giving it his all right now. Or at least compared to... I mean,
when you used to Morales and Barrera and people like that, and then you've got Mikey Garcia from the next generation, it just ain't got the same ring about it, has it? It just don't excite you like Barrera and Morales used to do. They just,
He doesn't even look seem hungry in the ring. Inside the ring, he doesn't look like he looks like he doesn't give a shit. Like he's just there to get a payday and... Okay, if I can knock the guy out, well, just try to win a decision,
Yeah, he's hungry outside the ring.
And you can tell, and people can tell that. People can see if you're hungry.
Well, we can see he's hungry because he's flabby when he shows up to the weigh-in.
Exactly, even his body tells you something. This guy's not interested. He just wants big paydays. If he actually wanted to fight the best, and if he actually was thinking about his legacy in boxing, he wouldn't have left Bob Arum. He would have fought Manny Pacquiao or whoever Bob Arum was offering at the time. But instead he goes independent, semi-independent. Go ahead.
I saw him on an interview recently talking about, how he doesn't think, he could get to fight top rank fighters because of their fallout with Mikey Garcia. And then he mentioned something about he doesn't know if Bob Arum or if Top Rank would let Mikey Garcia borrow Terrence Crawford for a fight. And I thought to myself, this guy really thinks he's acting like he's this pay-per-view A-side fighter already. Like what do you mean borrow a fighter? I mean, this guy talks about how he's a free agent, and if you're a free agent, then negotiate or make an offer or something. And fight somewhere else. After the Broner fight, he went on. I think he interviewed with Jim Gray or whoever it was, and said whoever wanted to fight him that could fight him on Showtime. I mean, I don't.
Oh man.
Yeah, there's a bit of delusion going on there with these fighters and the worth that they think. By the way, I'm reading the chat room and people are saying, yeah, Trinidad ruined Vargas. It was too soon. Tim DeBell says, I love Vargas, put it on the line. Michael Stott says, Vargas is hated in Oxnard. I thought he was liked in Oxnard. Maybe you could give us some more information on that, Michael. Kaiser Cup says, also Trinidad's low blows were shocking. Completely took Vargas' momentum. Luis Cator says, if Mikey takes on Spence, it might elevate his standing even if he loses. Well, look, even if he does take on Spence, I think he gets murdered in there. I mean, you saw Lipinets, who's not a natural pressure fighter. He was putting it on Mikey Garcia, landing some good shots, backing him up. Garcia, yes, he dropped him and he was tagging him with some shots, but you never got the sense that he was in full control after the 6th round. So Spence is a bigger guy. Supposedly he weighs 170 pounds outside of the ring. He's a strong dude, tremendous body puncher. He can actually box a little bit when he wants to. So, I mean, forget about 147.
What would Mikey do after a loss? Let's say against Spence. Well, he goes back. He's back at where he is right now, but the only difference is that he has a fucking loss in his record.
You know what? With Mikey Garcia, like you said, if he loses, he's the type of guy that can't afford a loss. Now, usually I like to say that losses are overrated. A lot of promoters worry too much about their fighters being undefeated. But when it comes to Mikey Garcia, his mystique really is dependent upon the fact that he's this master boxer. So if he loses, you know, he's not the most entertaining fighter out there. He's not the most charismatic either. So he really is left with nothing. If he loses, he's going to have to rebuild, and it might take a long while, which I don't think is something he wants. I think he wants to get out of the sport as soon as possible. So, like you said, if he loses, what does he have? I mean, I don't know. Michael and Stu, what do you think? Can he afford a loss at this point?
No, not well. It depends who the loss is. You know, if he goes up and fights Spence and gives him a hell of a fight and loses late on by stoppage or takes it to the scorecards, then he's going to get a lot of credit for that. So, and there's going to be a way back for him. But if he loses to some cherry pick, then where does he go from that? I mean, even Lomachenko is not even going to want it then, is he?
Yeah, man. So again, it depends. Mike, what do you think about that?
I mean, it just goes back to what I said earlier. You know, he needs to just make a decision, and you know, either go down to 135 and try to unify, or you know, stay at 140 and try to clean out that division. You know, I mean, I don't know what good it does for him to go up to 147 to fight a guy like Spence. You know, and like Stu said, if he does go to distance and he looks decent, you know, it could raise his stock. You know, so you just never know. I don't think a loss is gonna, you know, end his career or anything like that. But to me, it seems like that he's in lack of a quality manager backing up his career.
Yeah, that's the way it would seem, man. And I mean, did he ever say why he left Top Rank? Was it money issues, or what exactly was going on there?
I want to say it was money issues. Like I didn't really follow deep into why into that lawsuit, but I think it was money. I think he thought like he deserved money, and more money than what he was getting at Top Rank.
Well, look, I can't criticize a guy for wanting to get paid more.
So turning down fights. So Bob Arum was offering him decent fights, and he weren't taking them. So, you know, if you want to pay right, then start putting in the fucking hours, isn't it?
Exactly. Like if you don't want to cooperate, like I think didn't he turn down the Gamboa fight, or am I getting confused here?
I heard about that too. I heard he priced himself out of a Gamboa fight.
It's like, come on, I mean, you have to be a little realistic about your worth inside the ring. And like Bucho said, a lot of these guys think they're Floyd Mayweather in there. They think they deserve millions for that.
I feel like a broken record when I say this, but this is why I like fighters that are managed by Aegis Klimas, because, you know, his fighters, you know, they're all in there to, you know, to prove that they want to, you know, do what's best for their own career in terms of their legacy wise. You know, they're not getting paid a lot of money, you know, to fight, you know, to try to get these, you know, these big fights. You know, look at what happened to Sergey Kovalev in the rematch. He wasn't guaranteed any money. You know, he didn't take a purse, and the only money he was getting was a pay-per-view upside. You know, guys like, you know, Alexander Vostik, who got turned down by guys like Ilder Alvarez and Marcus Brown to fight him, you know, and he's willing to fight these guys, but, you know, these guys are, you know, turning him down because they want an easier route to a championship. You know, it just goes to show you, you know, these guys are made from a different cloth, and I respect these guys a lot more because they're willing to go into the ring and, you know, not worry about the money so much, and they're letting their managers and their promoter eventually handle, you know, the money, because the money will come eventually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once you keep on fighting and once you keep on winning, you know, if you keep on looking good, the money comes. But, you know, a lot of these fighters now, these younger fighters, are coming up, and, you know, they're thinking like they're the fighter and the manager themselves too, and it's like, you know, that's how you price yourself out of fights too, and that's how you wind up losing respect for the fans. Listen, I'm all about fighters getting paid, you know, but us as fans, you know, it doesn't do anything for us as fans whether one guy gets paid $1 million for a fight or if he gets a better offer of $1.5 million to fight somebody else. It doesn't matter to us. It's who he fights in the end is what's gonna make us tune in to watch these fighters.
Exactly. Very well said. A lot of these fighters miss the fact that it's a two-way sport. The fighter gets the interest of the people, and the people pay to watch you, and that's how you become famous. But a lot of these guys, they want to bypass all of that, and within 2-3 big fights, they want to be getting paid millions. It's something that's been going on in the sport for a while now. And like you said, we can't blame guys for wanting to get paid the most, but at the same time, a lot of these guys stall or ruin their careers by holding out for better paydays, and then those better paydays never come. And you said something interesting that I said before as well. If there are no big fights in the horizon, just keep winning then. That's all you can do, really. And if you keep on winning, eventually a big fight comes your way. But you can't expect everything to be delivered to you on a silver platter. That's not how it works. And by the way, we have...
That's why that's why the World Boxing Series is a good thing. Because it's given fighters a chance to make good money. And there's no ducking involved. Once you sign up for that, you have to fight whoever in front of you. And that's why I like it, because especially in the fantastic fighters fought each other, and now we're going to find out who the true champion is. 4 belts on the line. That's what boxing should be all about. But while we've got these cherry pickers thinking they're worth millions of dollars, then, you know.
I saw in the chat that I found something funny that said Loma just jumped to 135 and stole Mikey's best available opponent. I found it very ironic for Mikey Garcia to complain once he found out that talks between Top Rank and Golden Boy were beginning to try to put together a Jorge Linares fight and a Vasyl Lomachenko fight, and Mikey Garcia tweeted out to Linares saying that, you know, the WBC was supposed to, you know, mandate the fight next between them two, or they were supposed to fight next, and he's, you know, telling Jorge Linares like, what's going on, bro? And I'm thinking to myself, I go, this guy had 2 different opportunities in negotiations with Golden Boy to fight Jorge Linares, and he declined both times in negotiations to fight to get into the ring with Linares. And now he wanted to, like, you know, make it seem like it was unfair that Jorge Linares is not going to be fighting, you know, Lomachenko. And it's like, you know, that's your fault for you know, not agreeing to the fight and fighting Lipinets instead. Exactly. You know, the world doesn't revolve around him, and, you know, there's other fights to be made.
Very well said, man. Very well said. These guys don't understand that, and like you said, he got his big fight snatched away from him. We got, I have to say, corruption in boxing, and we have Cameron also on the line. Let's play the intros right now.
I'm very happy I placed a large bet as well, just to prove that word is bond. So who's standing tall now, you little motherfuckers?
And we have Cameron also on the line.
Cameron Gillon. Cameron Gillon.
He looks like he put steroids in his shit.
That's right. He put steroids in his shit, apparently. Guys, thank you for...
King Butcher, those intros have your fingerprints all over them, yeah?
Yeah, it's so obvious, huh?
No,
I have to make one for fucking Michael now.
Yeah, we gotta make
one. The intro you've compiled for me, thank you first of all, it sort of portrays me as some sort of a twisted, degenerate, gambling William Shakespeare.
Of course not. Of course not. That is not my intent.
No, that's right. That's right. And by the way, you said the intros have Bucho's fingerprints all over them. There's a lot of women out there that don't remember their meetings with Bucho that also have his fingerprints all over their ass. So let's hope nothing happens that way. All right, guys, listen, we're talking about Mikey Garcia and how he's seemingly self-sabotaging his career by stalling it. I'll start with corruption. What do you think about Mikey Garcia? Do you think he eventually gets a big fight, or is he just looking for a big payday or easy paydays before he retires?
You know, Mr. BDA, the situation is not as clear-cut and as transparent as what has been revealed. Now, I've been looking into Bob Arum's involvement in boxing since 1966, and when Top Rank was incorporated. Now, he is notorious for issuing very stringent, robust contracts, and there's not a great deal of disclosure as to how long a certain fighter has on his contract, and whether they can actually extricate themselves from that contract. Now, the situation with Mikey Garcia is a little bit similar to Manny Pacquiao's. Now, Pacquiao's publicist has made a number of recent comments and in the past where he's expressed that Pacquiao is now a free agent and he's able to negotiate fights under Manny Pacquiao's own promotions. But Bob Arum has almost immediately rebutted those statements and stipulating that no, Pacquiao is not a free agent. So there is a power struggle between these two parties, and there has been for a very long time. You've almost got to have to look at Pacquiao's almost his income situation, and there's a massive disparity between what Bob Arum has stated he has earned from a fight and what has been published by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. There is a disparity, and I have the feeling that the purse that Pacquiao generated from the Floyd Mayweather fight, I think Bob Arum has taken more than half of it. I think I've got no conclusive proof at the moment, but I'm just looking. But I think Arum has taken as much as about 80 million off that purse.
Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing, real quick. People love to pick sides when it comes to promotional entities. People love to pick. Some people are pro PBC, some people are pro Arum, some people are pro Golden Boy Promotions. But I think they forget that at the end of the day, these people are promoters, which, let's face it, they're very sketchy. And Bob Arum has been at this for more than 50 years, I believe, or 50 years. He was also a lawyer prior to that. So if there's anybody that knows how to play or pull off some sleight of hand, it's Bob Arum. And some people like to make him out to be this good guy. That's because he's Pacquiao's promoters, and a lot of people are Pacquiao fans, and therefore they give Arum a lot more slack. But you're saying you have no conclusive proof, but you're saying that the dealings he might be conducting with his fighters actually favor him and not the fighters themselves.
Yeah, if recently Arum has, when he was actually challenged about this whole contract situation, given that a proposed bout was being talked about in Malaysia, Arum explicitly stated that he cannot confirm how long Manny Pacquiao has left on his contract, and he's often repeated that same statement. He's very cloak and dagger when it comes to his contracts. And if you look at some of his fighters in the past, he's had a hell of a lot of lawsuits against him from some of his old fighters as well, regarding such a robust, tight contract, and the compensation remuneration package that is involved is, there was, Manny Pacquiao gave an interview in the Philippines a number of years ago where he stated that Arum was paying him in installments. His fight purses were never being executed like wire payments, upon the fight being concluded. So there's a lot of, grey areas which I'm still sort of looking into. But back to what you said, Mr. BDA, about Bob Arum. Look, he's lobbied and he's used his Harvard Law School connections in boxing for a number of years. I think his takeover of boxing is synonymous the way, Charles Lucky Luciano took over organized crime when they took out Joe DeBoss Massaria and Salvatore Maranzano. I think Bob Arum has done exactly the same thing. I think he was heavily involved in introducing the Muhammad Ali Reform Act. So you can specifically start reducing the powers of promoters like Amir Imam's promoter, all of these promoters, so he can start almost the process is to start monopolizing the game. And I think Arum has been manipulating and cultivating and doing exactly that behind the ranks.
Now, okay, if that indeed is true, and he's trying to what type of monopoly are you talking about? You're talking about setting up something similar to the UFC, or something without the UFC name, but that it's a brand that's tacitly recognized and which actually dominates the sport?
No, what it is in terms of monopolizing. Look, he's focused. He's based his operations in Las Vegas now. He was very close with Shelton Adelson, who was very heavily involved in politics, parliament, but also the casino scene in America as well. If you look at the ultimate business ownership of a lot of the casinos, they go back not only the Fajita brothers, but Sheldon Adelson and also Kirk, an Armenian businessman. But Arum has been involved in that equation for a very long time. But they had a very challenging relationship with Donald Trump when it came to Atlantic City in the past, and that relationship they've never really reconciled it. Bob Arum and the current sort of president are have a very heated relationship, but it's more to do with Las Vegas. I think Bob Arum has had preferential treatment in terms of site fees for fights, etc. That is the monopoly. I think he's able to influence a lot of Las Vegas in terms of getting fights there, prioritizing fights, even having the ability to appoint judges who he feels he should be appointed, and ultimately I think even manipulating judges and getting decisions. I think they're all firmly within his remit.
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned that, because right now Bob Arum has a deal, or his company, at least Top Rank, has a deal with ESPN, and Steve Kim has said long and hard about how if ESPN wanted to, they have more funds than HBO, they have a bigger audience than HBO, and that if they wanted to, they could snatch the boxing game away from both HBO and Showtime. And so now Bob Arum's Top Rank is with ESPN. So his position, would it be fair to say that he's positioned himself in an advantageous position here?
Yeah, Bob Arum has had a long relationship with ABC, who I think are the UBOs of ESPN, and given their media connection and the amount of viewers and how long they've been in business, I think that is exactly his strategy. I think he's seen that HBO focusing a little bit more. Well, recently they've been focusing a little bit more on the former sort of Soviet Union fighters. They realize that they've got a massive influx of fighters who turned professional when AIBA specifically changed the decision from point system to a 10-point must system. So a lot of those fighters turned professional, and HBO specifically have been targeting them fighters. They were issuing pre-contracts to some of them fighters, a number of years ago. So I think he's tended to focus more on, Central, South, Latin America, and he has quite a large volume of fighters, and I think they're heavily recruited. They're going into Panama at the moment, from what I'm hearing, bringing on board, some 15, 16-year-olds, Nicaragua, they're going Costa Rica, Mexico, pretty much everywhere, Chile, wherever there is potential talent. So I think the demographics have been clearly setting. Al Heyman has obviously been targeting more the American fighters. De La Hoya's obviously had a lot, given the Mexican connection. Arum is a little bit more diverse because he's obviously the biggest promoter in boxing, so he has that connection. He has the name, the reputation, so he can prize away assets from pretty much anywhere. And Eddie Hearn is obviously going a little bit more into, Eddie Hearn is signed Alusin in the Kazakhstan amateur standout, so, and he's going to be very aggressive in targeting a lot of US fighters. So I think it's going to be a crazy bidding war, certainly next year as well.
Well, that's interesting. Now, let's, Bucho, would you stop giving me cliff notes about how to conduct my interviews here?
No.
Listen, I wanna ask. Well, corruption. That's some very interesting information right there about the behind the scenes going on of promotions in Las Vegas, particularly in Las Vegas, which, as we know, there's a lot of weird stuff going on there. And like you said, you go back to the lineage of Las Vegas after the corporate takeover of Las Vegas, and things just get weird in there. But for example, Cameron, I wanted to ask you, based on what corruption just said about how we don't really know what the specifics of a contract are between a fighter and a promoter, do you think we should be having a little more empathy here with Mikey Garcia regarding his situation? Because again, we don't know what he's going through, or what he's thinking, or what he's going to do next in his next fight. So should we be cutting Mikey Garcia a little slack here? Cameron?
We promise not to hurt you, BDA.
Yeah, okay. Cameron, do you think we should be cutting Mikey Garcia a little bit more slack since we don't know what's going on with his contract or with his next fight?
Can you guys hear me, yeah?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, just a quick note. Who made the intros?
That was not BDA, that was King Bucho.
That was me.
The one thing, that's a good intro, but what you need to add to mine is my comment about Dan Raphael a few weeks ago into that. About the Dan Raphael.
Yeah, I was looking for it, man. It takes time to find little clips like that. So yeah, I'll change it. I'll find that comment.
Raphael on PD.
Yeah.
Mikey Garcia. I wrote a tweet about Garcia yesterday, saying, because obviously he's targeting Lucas Matisse, or Robert Garcia is. Which is just pointless in my opinion. Like, okay, he fought Lipinets. To me, it seems like Mikey Garcia is just going for the sort of like world titles, but the easiest route to a world title. I mean, Lipinets was unproven. He looked good against Garcia. Matisse, he's over the hill, and that's not even a world title that he's got. Garcia needs to start. He fought Lipinets. Now fight the winner of Lomachenko Linares. That's really what he should be going for, because Lipinets is an elite name. Nobody at 140 is an elite name. Lightweight is a bit better. I'd rather see him fight Robert Easter than sort of Matisse, to be honest with you. I'd rather see him unify lightweight. No idea what's going on, with his contract and all that. As far as I'm aware, he says he's a free agent, doesn't he? He's not tied down to a promoter or anything. I know he's fighting on Showtime, but in my opinion, he has to fight the winner of Lomachenko Linares. That's really the only sort of logical option for me. I think a lot of people agree with it as well when I put it up. Matisse, what's Garcia doing? What does he want from his career? Because he's not fighting the names that people want to see him fight. Fair enough, he's moving up through the weights, but that's only, really sort of worthy of talking about if you're fighting the elite names. If he moved up and fought, I don't know, Furman or Spence, it's a bit different. But if you're not going to fight them, then stay in your weight division and unify. I think it's as simple as that, really.
What's his weight division?
Well, it's lightweight, isn't it? I mean, that's what he's been talking about. He says he can make lightweight. That's the best division for him in terms of names, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it could be lightweight. It could be super lightweight. Who the hell knows, right?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I think 140 is it's open. You know what I mean? They're all kind of fighting to kind of prove themselves. I think, you've got Imam Ramirez tonight. I mean, that's a shock. I think that's a shocking world title fight, personally. I mean, you've got Imam who's coming off 2 wins against journeymen with losing records, and he's getting a world title shot over a pro racing in Dongo. I think it's terrific, really. That's just what I feel. I feel like Garcia should fight the winner of Lomachenko Linares. I feel like a lot of boxing fans, that's the fight people want to see. I mean, I think Lomachenko will beat Linares pretty handily. I think the fight to make is Garcia-Lomachenko. I think most boxing fans would rather see that fight than see Garcia move up and fight Matisse.
Yeah. All right. Let's change subject now. You guys want to talk heavyweights? Want to talk about Joshua Parker?
Well, how about
I'm
Eddie
gonna
Hearn?
say.
I mean, Eddie
Uh,
Hearn came out, didn't he, and said that he fears that Deontay Wilder will lose before fighting Anthony Joshua. And I wrote on Twitter, well, make the fight in the summer then. Just make the fight. I mean, you can't. What's the build? You've got two champions there who's got all three belts. If Joshua beats Parker,
Okay,
you
now,
don't need to
Cameron,
build
tell
it.
me the deal with the WBC now. So Wilder, when does he have? Who's the? I believe the number one contender in the WBC is Brazil.
Dylan White.
Dylan White.
No, it's Dylan White.
So regardless, if he loses, is he still number one, or how's it gonna?
No, if Dylan White loses to Lucas Brown, he'll lose his mandatory position.
So he's gonna be the next in line is Brazil, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure when Wilder actually has a mandatory due because it's not been ordered yet. And obviously, unification will overrule that. He's just faced Ortiz. I mean, in my opinion, Joshua will fight. He'll fight probably Jarrell Miller, and Wilder will probably fight Brazil. I think they'll probably fight on the same card, to be honest, and then build that fight. But they should just make the fight next. Simple as that. They don't need to build it.
Go ahead, Corrupt.
Sorry, Cameron. If I interrupted you, I apologize.
No, it's okay. Carry on.
I was going to say, now Wilder's mandatory will be Brazil, but that mandatory, given that he fought Stavern, his mandatory won't be called until at least December.
Yeah, there you go. He's got time there, hasn't he, to kind of get any fighting he wants.
Yeah, that's right.
Is BDA
Oh yeah, sorry. No, BDA is gonna be back. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about Joshua and Parker now, because I mean, unless you wanna, give us a prediction for Dylan White against Brown. Anyone?
I'll let someone else go first.
You know, Butcher, that for me that is a totally irrelevant, insignificant fight. I couldn't really care.
Wow. Okay.
I think that fight, right? I mean, for some reason, I watched that gloves are off of it. Yes, that because these gloves are off. It just becomes shocking, and I can't get into this fight either. I think it's going to be a bit of a stinker, to be honest with you. I think it's going to go the distance. White, he doesn't like the play style. He's kind of, now he's moved up with a power puncher that he was before he fought Joshua. When he's fighting all these guys and just rolling them over. He's a bit more tactical now. But Lucas Brown, I mean, who's he really beat? I mean, he's beat Shagayev. Fair enough, he got put over in that fight and he came back and won. But Shagayev was over the hill. Fair enough, he only got knocked out by, I think it was, no, he never got knocked out. He lost to Klitschko and Povetkin, Shagayev, and then Brown was the first to knock him out. But he was old. I mean, Brown can punch and all that, but, that fight for me, I mean, Lucas Brown is so slow on his feet. His hands are slow. Dylan White's not the best either. I think it's just going to stink the joint out. Like, don't get me wrong, I watched the fight, but I don't see either one of them really making an emphatic sort of performance in that fight.
Yeah, you know what? When I look at Dillian White and Cameron can, give me his opinion now. For me, he's not the same fighter that he was under Jonathan Banks than he is with sort of Mark Tibbs now. Okay, under Mark Tibbs, he has a promotion behind him. He's had a little bit more stability, better income, etc. So he's able to improve his conditioning, what he didn't have before under Jonathan Banks, and he didn't have prioritized sparring. He was having to obviously travel to Austria exactly and trying to work around the Klitschko schedule. So there wasn't any stability or any sort of continuity. So under Mark Tibbs, so his conditioning is improved, but I don't think he's turning his punches over from what I've seen. And he also doesn't have that body snatcher. I don't see him really going to the body at all. His overall boxing, he might be a little bit cuter now than he was before. Evidently, they're obviously trying to work on his technique, so he's counter-punching a little bit on the inside. But for God's sake, Chisora gave him an ass whooping. I thought, for me, that fight may have been close if Chisora had run out of gas, but Chisora, I felt, landing consistently the harder punches. When he began slumping on the ropes, okay, while Gillon, a younger fighter, fresher, less miles on the clock, he may have been able to capitalize, but they were never going to give Chisora the decision because he's too gangster, which is ironic because Eddie Hearn signed him straight after. But against Robert Helenius, Dillian White looked shocking against Helenius. Look, a very skillful fighter. He was a good amateur, but an upright fighter who was just tearing off punches when Dillian White was coming in. White doesn't fight well against tall boxers. There's something I've been looking, doing a critique on him. He just does not fight against that particular style. When he almost got knocked out in the first few rounds, and if it wasn't for Helenius going into some sort of a zombie mode where he just seemed disinterested, coming off obviously a very short training camp, given that he was given, I don't know how many, was it a month or I don't know, weeks notice, whatever. So his conditioning wasn't ideal. But if Helenius had come into the ring in better shape, Dillian White would have been, his ass would have been KO'd.
I just don't think, in regards to White struggling against tall fighters, I just don't think he has the footwork or the creativity to actually get on the inside. I don't think he's, he relies on fighters to make mistakes to get his own shots off, or like you said, Helenius, who just went into zombie mode and he just didn't do anything. But when he fought Joshua, the only bit of success he had against Joshua was when Joshua was coming in with his own punches and left himself open, and White sort of countered with a left hook. But he relies on fighters making mistakes for him to get his own shots on. You don't see him, creating angles. You don't see him sort of feinting with a jab or anything like that. But for me, the fact that he's probably technically better, but I'm not too sure. I mean, I can't really get into the fight. I'll watch it, but I just can't get into it.
And look at his US debut, Cameron. He fought a guy, from my understanding, and I could be wrong, but this guy was coming off an 8-year layoff. It was like his comeback after a substantial amount of time out of the ring. If that is the sort of opposition Matchroom have been putting him in the ring with, then Lucas Brown has a very good chance.
But he fought that cruiserweight, didn't he? He fought Bellew and he struggled to get him out of there, White. White's not this big puncher that, sort of he said he was, or people thought he was. Or at least, he doesn't at least, maybe, before he was just all out brawling, and then, like you said, he has become more of a sort of technician now, or what he's got of it. He's not there looking for the knockout as much. He said he's going to look to knock Brown out. I don't see White knocking Brown out. That's all.
Yeah, Lucas Brown is an interesting one. Exactly. We don't know exactly what sort of shape he's in. When Shadow, obviously, if you look at all of the allegations and what transpired, he was basically juicing up actually during the week of the fight, or penultimate week of the fight. So very, very during that period. So he reaped the benefits, and you could see when he was taking that left hand to the body, right hand up the top from Ruslan, he got up. He just seemed to have an extraordinary amount of energy, came back, and he was firing those hot shots with the right hand, the short right hands, which eventually took Ruslan out. So, but now, I don't know. He's obviously probably been tested around the clock quite heavily. I guess he's probably paying for his own testing. That's what the sanctioning bodies generally do. Once you've obviously fractured and they've imposed a ban, then you're obviously liable. So God knows what sort of shape he's going to be in, whether he's even going to have that same sort of gas tank to sort of last. Because Dillian White has got a reasonably good chin. He's tough. He's obviously doesn't really have a lot of fear of fighters. You'll pretty much start a fight with his own shadow. A bit of bad blood between the two fighters, so
yeah.
in
All
the
right,
UK,
just so,
matchroom fighter, I probably think Gillon will probably eke out a points decision.
I like Brown, by the way. He's actually, he's a good guy. I like actually listening to his interviews and all that. Like, he spends a lot of time with the fans and all that. I don't really care.
Is Ricky Haddon still involved in his camp?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
anyway, we got Hamed on the line.
Get ready for Hamed. It's on.
That's Hamed's introduction. Hamed, we haven't been able to find
These intros are good, man. These intros are good.
Well, that's King Bucho.
I prefer that than hearing my own voice.
Yeah, well, we couldn't find a quote, something that you've said that's controversial, or that's the word I'm looking for here is explosive. You need to start saying some things that are more controversial, man. Like, you need to start calling people out and all that. By the way, Bucho, are you there?
Hamed needs to go for raw beef.
Yeah.
What was that? Full.
He needs to go.
I didn't catch the last part. The full.
Beef.
Yeah, you're breaking up there. You're cutting off, Cameron.
Talking about controversy, I was gonna say.
It's snowing while we're all cutting out.
Let me know.
Yeah, you're all cutting off, man. What the hell?
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Hamed. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, talking about controversy. Dillian White has also failed, I think, once or twice for PDs as well. He's been busted, so I mean, people can't bring up Lucas Brown without. You got to know the history. I think Dillian White failed or got popped. I think when he was a kickboxer and when he was a boxer as well. So as for the fight, I'm not too sure. I like Lucas Brown. I hope he knocks out Dillian White. I really don't want to see Dillian White and Wilder fight. I don't really rate Dillian White. I don't think he's that good. I think he went life and death with the old Chisora. I mean, people make out about Lucas Brown beating Chagayev, but that win over Chagayev was much better. Even though he was I think he got popped and he was failed drug test. But him fighting that Chagayev was better than that Chisora that Dillian White fought. And a lot of people thought that Dillian White lost that fight. I think outside that left hook on AJ, which he landed, I don't think Dillian White has done anything. I mean, he struggled to knock out a very out of shape Ian Lewison, who got knocked out by Joe Joyce in his debut or his first fight in about a couple of rounds. I don't know if it's actually a couple of rounds, it might be 5 or 6, but he got knocked out by a novice. And Dillian White, it took him about 10 rounds, and I think Dillian White, I don't think he deserves to be in the ring with someone like Wilder. I think he'll get found out. I think Eddie Hearn is probably just using him as a piece just to see if someone like Dillian White could beat Wilder to get that fight, a rematch with Joshua, or he might be doing it just to milk out the fight.
I think Dillian White, his problem is he hasn't worked out how to throw a punch properly. His technique is horrible. He doesn't punches properly. He throws arm punches, and his footwork is all over the place when he's throwing them. Now, certain attributes that are going to keep him around. He's got a heart of a lion, and he'll go to the end. But when you're looking at skills, I mean, I don't think he's a terribly skills. I just think he does a lot of horrible things as well, like his footwork and his throwing his punches is all wrong.
Did anyone think that he beat Chisora? Because I thought he beat Chisora, but I haven't rewatched the fight. That everyone I've spoken to thought.
I thought he nicked it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, I did. I had about 7-5 Dillian White. I thought the draw might have been fair, but I thought Chisora didn't do enough to win that fight.
He definitely did enough to win the fight. He landed the punches.
He's got to stop slapping. He's hearing about he's got knockout power and he can knock anyone out, but we've not seen it, have we? Let's be real. He's not knocking anybody out. I mean, a lot of his punches are slapping. And,
I think that shot he landed on Joshua was a good shot. I think if he followed it up, I think Joshua
it was a good shot.
Joshua fell into it though.
Yeah.
No, but if Joshua,
it was a good shot, but like I said, it was more to him that he even landed with it. Like it was just thrown out of desperation, and it landed. I mean, he's not landed with that left.
I thought if Joshua went down, I think if Joshua went down, I think Dillian Whyte might have knocked him out. Joshua, at that point, I think he wasn't prepared for that. Like that was the first time someone threw a shot back at him and landed. Like he had about
Joshua had his senses about him, mate. About 3 seconds after that punch landed, he did a little dance, and then before you know it, his hands were up. He was. You could see him. Was looking at guy riding shots.
Dillian Whyte also beat him in the amateurs, and I think stylistically and with all the beef, I think they have got some sort of personal animosity. I think Joshua let him get to his skin, and I give Joshua credit because I think he fought one of his worst fights and he still knocked him out. And he was Dillian Whyte landed a good shot. I think that shot, if he landed on Wilder Price, would have probably knocked out Wilder Price. I think Joshua answered some questions.
Well, come on, mate, David Price. I mean, that's not taking a lot to knock David Price out. A gush of wind could do that.
But I think Joshua, I think he answered a bit of questions in that fight. I still think he showed a lot of flaws in that fight, and I think it took him about a year to sort some of his fundamental. I still think he still makes the odd few mistakes, but the way he was lunging in with his shots on the ropes, and then Dillian Whyte just caught him with a left hook, and I think Dillian Whyte was in really bad shape. I think if it was someone who was much better, would probably have finished Joshua off. But I mean, I think that's what the interesting thing with Parker will be. That
Klitschko was a lot better, and he didn't finish Joshua off, and he hit Joshua.
But Klitschko was also 41.
Dillian Whyte did.
Yeah, that's true. But Klitschko was also 41.
It doesn't matter. The guy. Listen.
Klitschko
was still a
No. What I'm saying, Klitschko didn't follow it up really as well. Klitschko kind of went into safety first mode as well. I rewatched that fight around a couple of months ago, and
it's because he didn't have. Granted, he didn't have it in the tank to get the finish. I understand.
Yeah,
you're right. But at the end of the day, Klitschko was still a world-class heavyweight that had one loss in like 10 years against an awkward Tyson Fury, and he never really got hurt in that fight. Joshua got hurt with a big punch. I mean, Klitschko's got 54. He's got 54 knockouts. Let's not pretend here. Stats don't lie. The guy's got 54 knockouts. If he lands clean on your chin, you're going to sleep. And now, like I said, a lot of fighters that took that shot that Joshua took, they'd still be sleeping now.
Oh yeah, that was a very good shot he took. That was, I think, if that landed. I still think one thing, if that landed on Joshua's chin, he probably would have got knocked out. He was kind of lucky that it landed on his temple, but nonetheless, if that landed on Wilder, if that landed on Hay, if that landed on anyone, I think they would have been out. Joshua showed a lot of heart. I think he answered a lot of questions. He is really tough, but I still think if Wilder or someone gets him hurt like that, I think is different, because Wilder seems to be a guy that, same as I thought with Hay a couple of years ago, he seemed like a guy who could finish people off. And I think Klitschko, even though Klitschko is very good, but he's a guy who takes his time. And I think against Joshua, same with Wilder, that's why this fight, if they do fight, it's such a great fight. Well, whoever lands first.
Klitschko go on.
But Klitschko, in a lot of his knockouts, he used to jab, and then even when he used to knock him down, he still used to be quite safety first. I mean, I can't remember who it was. I think it's Tony Thompson and Momek. He dropped him, and I'm not saying he wasn't a big puncher. What I'm trying to see, he even when he used to knock people out, he used to he used to do in safety first. Safety first. Like he didn't used to really throw the kitchen sink at anyone. And I think against someone like Joshua, you probably have to do that to knock
But
him
I
out.
think he
you
did.
can't.
He did. If you watch that back, he did throw the kitchen sink. He threw more shots than I've seen him throw for the last 10 years. The problem was there was just no gas in the tank. There was no gas left in the tank. If he, like I said, 5 years younger, he'd have got Anthony Joshua out of there. He'd have knocked Anthony Joshua out. He'd have knocked him out without a shadow of a doubt. But he just didn't have it in the tank. If you watch that fight back, he was going toe to toe with Joshua. It was the best I've seen Klitschko look for a long time.
Yeah, that was a good Klitschko. Yeah, I don't disagree.
I think, Klitschko, we're talking about how Klitschko was old. The fact is, he still had the power. Joshua took that shot. Looked at Pulev, Klitschko landed right hands that were not as sort of ferocious as that, and Pulev was finished from him. Joshua proved a lot of people wrong in that fight, that how he can't take a punch. Really, the only, you got Wilder there, he can punch, but other than that, what heavyweight, if you can take Klitschko's power, who's going to put Joshua out? Can't really see anybody, can you, really?
But does that also say about the level of Joshua's opposition? Because I was thinking about this. I think if you take Klitschko's name off Joshua's resume, I think Parker might have fought the better fighters.
Oh, yeah,
I think Andy Ruiz and he fought Carlos Takam when he wasn't a world champion. And we've seen Joshua had a bit of trouble with Takam. Obviously, he did a better job because he got him out, but he did have a bit of trouble, and that stoppage was really bad. But the guys that Joshua's fought, I'm not trying to put them down, have been they've been quite bad, very bad. Even when he was a world champion, Molina and Charles Martin, he was horrible. He was one of the worst heavyweights I think I've ever seen. Worst champions I've ever seen.
Ahmed, I totally disagree. Anthony Joshua was shockingly bad against Carlos Takam, and I'll explain.
Yeah,
I think his performance.
Is this Dave Higgins on the line, by the way? Corruption. You actually sound like Dave Higgins. I'm not kidding.
He does, doesn't he? He does. I thought it was Dave Higgins on the line.
Listen, I'll explain. I think Joshua's performance against Vladimir Klitschko will be the best of his career. I think in the Carlos Takam fight, what I saw was a tentative fighter who was still carrying the excess baggage of psychological and physical impact from that fight, and I'll explain. If you look at the fight, Takam had his back skating against the rope, round after round after round, and he was able to exit from the ropes. And how was he able to exit? By a simple right-hand feint. And Joshua bought the feint.
Sorry. I was actually at that fight, and even though I was in the nose. Even though I was in the nosebleeds, Joshua did not look good against Takam. And when I rewatched it, I agree. Even though I think he probably won every round, I think I give Takam one round. I don't think Joshua looked that good.
But look, here it is. Look, see, Takam, all he did the same thing in every round. He just feinted with the right hand. Joshua bought the feint, and Takam was able to get off the ropes easily. Now, that tells me Joshua was extremely tentative. And you would have thought Joshua's mindset would have been, hold on, in the previous round, I had him in the same position. He didn't throw a punch, but he kept doing it over and over again. And this is the thing with Joshua. At long range, he is not the fighter that everybody seems to think. I think he's very telegraphed.
You don't have a jab, that's right.
Hold on. That's why Dominic Brazil was able to go the rounds he was, because Joshua at long range, he gets too predictive. That's why Vladimir Klitschko was up on he could see the rope. He could see his right hand coming from a mile off. And if you listen to David Hay now, David Hay gets obviously criticized, lambasted, but if you listen to him on commentary, at times he does make very astute comments, and he's always talking about how Joshua just lacks the creativity at long range. But short to mid range is a different sort of fight. Joshua is so much better at short to mid range. That's where he does the bulk of the damage. That's where he did the damage against Carlos Takam. If you look at some of the hooks he was landing, even against Vladimir Klitschko, the damage was done short mid range. But the problem with Joshua is that I think he gets dangerous. The more the rounds progress, I think he gets less and less dangerous for two reasons. One, he doesn't have the gas tank for 12 rounds. And as his gas tank depletes, he starts losing his technique badly. If you have the audio on and you listen to Robert McCracken is going absolute nuts about him, saying, get your hands back up. He starts closing his eyes as well and throwing wild hooks. And you can hear Kraken saying in the corner, what the hell are you doing? He starts losing his technique because he's tired. Now, up against Deontay Wilder, I think Joshua gets knocked out. Wilder at long range will be able to knock him out. I think Joshua at long range doesn't have a clue. I think Wilder doesn't fight to accumulate points. He doesn't fight to bank rounds. He'll either knock you out cold or he will soften you out and he'll knock you out. He has that ability to pace himself very well in fights, and his power carries very late. And we can see the way he paces himself. He has the conditioning to last 12 rounds, whereas Joshua don't. And I can only see one winner, and that's Wilder knocking him out.
Yeah, well, this is he's losing a lot of muscle for this Parker fight, because Parker's going to be on his chest and work, and Parker's a tough guy. You're not going to get him out of there easy. So at the end of the day, I could see why he's losing that muscle, because muscle burn, we all know that. He should be hanging around there late. Parker's not a massive puncher. I don't think Parker's going to clean Joshua out, but he's going to be hanging around in there. And I think we've seen it before where Joshua's had to get second wins to get him these victories. And with Joshua, Joshua's got his hands full with Parker. I think styles make fights. And I think, obviously, Joshua is at his best mid-range and in the pocket. I know that. But I just think with Joshua, with Parker, he's a tough guy and he's going to be constantly working and he's fit. And I just think it's a hard matchup for Joshua. It's a bit like
I agree.
He's fighting a...
I think the only thing that I'd be worried if I was a big Parker fan is size. I think, other than that, I think Parker's a live dog. I mean, I think Parker's, if they fought 2 or 3 years ago, I'd probably have favoured Parker. I thought Parker was more impressive when they're coming up. It's just, I think Parker has had a couple of performances where he hasn't looked that good. And I think people are going to obviously favour Joshua. And I think Joshua is the rightly favoured. He's a big favourite in the fight. He's huge. Just when they're standing next to each other, I think if Parker could outbox him and make him miss and try and hit him at the same time and take him deep, I think Parker could beat him. But the only thing
Hadaway can't beat it.
The only thing I'd worry with Parker is I think Parker gets hit a bit too much. And against Joshua, I think that is bad. But I think Parker has got a chance. The only thing I'd see is, does anyone think Parker's better than Luis Ortiz? Even the Luis Ortiz that Wilder fought?
I wouldn't say so. No.
Listen, Luis Ortiz is 50 years old.
But that Luis Ortiz would give Joshua a lot of problems.
Yeah, because... Oh, no.
This guy... Luis Ortiz,
I think he does.
Luis Ortiz clean out.
No. I completely disagree. I think Luis Ortiz. Wilder. He took flush right hands from Wilder. What did he do, Luis Ortiz? He took shots from Wilder. Wilder. Those shots that Wilder landed on him, come on, those are huge shots. I think they would have knocked out anyone in that division. I think Luis Ortiz was probably a bit older, but if Luis Ortiz a couple of years ago would have not. A couple of years ago, Luis Ortiz would have finished off Wilder.
Dave Allen rocked Luis. Dave Allen rocked Luis Ortiz, and that guy.
He still beat. No, but he still beat him. The point is, I think styles make fights, and I think I'd give Wilder credit for beating Luis Ortiz. Even though people say Luis Ortiz was old, Klitschko was old as well. I know. I'm not saying Luis Ortiz was better. Obviously, Klitschko is a Hall of Famer, much better fighter. There's no question about that. But if we're just gonna bring up age, then Klitschko is 41 as well.
But he's taking shape. And how many punches did Wilder throw against Joshua and Ortiz against Wilder? Both of them were for 4 rounds. People were booing, man. 3 or 4 rounds. It's completely different.
Klitschko is 41, but Ortiz is 51. There's a big difference there.
I heard. I don't know if it's. I heard Luis Ortiz's real age is 44. I thought he could be 47, but I think that's probably a bit accurate. But his official age is 37. I think no one believes he's really 37.
He was 37 back in 1988.
Yeah.
He's obviously older than that, but
this man had to escape the Cuban government on the motorboat. Then he ended up in Mexico, and he was kidnapped again. So he had to.
Luis Ortiz.
So he had to get.
He was unbeaten.
Oh mate.
I couldn't hear anything. Everything was getting cut off. But Luis Ortiz wasn't beaten. So I think Wilder, I'd give him a bit of credit, but Wilder did really look like shit in that fight, man. He was losing about 7-2.
Do you know why he looked like shit in that fight? Do you know why?
Go ahead.
Now, Hamed, I'm asking you, do you know why Wilder looked like shit or why the crowd were booing him initially?
I think Ortiz is underrated. I think people are gonna laugh, but I mean, I think Wilder would probably have an easier time with Joshua at times. If he could chin check Joshua early, I think he'd have. I think he just couldn't get his range with Ortiz, and Ortiz was all wrong, I thought, for Wilder. So I thought the only thing that Wilder had with him, that Ortiz was so old and inactive, and the fact that I thought Ortiz looked really good when he fought, what was his name, Thompson, and he done a good number on, I thought, Thompson and Jennings. But then he had some really bad performances against Malik Scott, and I think Hearn signed him up, I thought, to protect Joshua, and I thought that was a good move. But then when he seen him look kind of bad, I think he deservedly so. He didn't really deserve to stay. Because, I mean, that fight with Malik Scott was really bad. I think the reason Wilder looked bad against him was, I think, stylistically, he's a southpaw. I thought he was a bit tricky, and I thought Ortiz's feints were really good. Wilder just couldn't measure him.
We all knew Ortiz was going to be ahead on the scorecards. We all knew Ortiz was going to outbox Wilder. That's just a fact.
Look, from what you were saying, Hamed, a little bit of that is true, but I'll explain it to you. Now, Wilder had no idea on how to fight a southpaw. It was basically due to his foot positioning, not his footwork, because if you look at his footwork, he's quite a mobile athlete. Now, Luis Ortiz was able to get the lead foot right advantage, and he kept circling to Wilder's right hand side. Now, if you're a southpaw against an orthodox, the lead foot advantage is far more important for a southpaw and moving to the right, because it gives him a direct line of sight for his left hand at all times. And Wilder can't use his jab. He has to shift his body 90 degrees on the left to actually fire a jab. But it does put him in range with Wilder's right hand. But what Ortiz was able to do is when Wilder was firing the jab in the first round, because that's what he does. He'll either try and knock you out early or test your punch resistance. Ortiz was coming back with a short left-hand counter. So that is what made Wilder reticent to throw the right hand. And his jab, he did 7 jabs in the first 4 rounds. It's because Ortiz was moving to the right and he was doubling up on his jab, so Wilder couldn't throw the jab. That's why Wilder didn't hit the first portion of the fight. That's why the crowd was...
Can I say something? Wait, one sec. I mean, I keep seeing the comments and I keep hearing this. Who has Ortiz fought? Can I say something? Who did Wilder fight before Ortiz? Who did Joshua fight before Klitschko? Who did Fury fight before Klitschko? I mean, we could go on this for ages. I mean, you're not going to fight anyone until you actually fight the best in the weight class.
No, wait a minute. Anthony Joshua took on Charles Martin.
Oh, God. Charles Martin,
he was a god.
Anthony Joshua. He's had 20 fights, though. Anthony Joshua, it's nothing. I mean, we've got...
I mean, Tyson Fury had 20 fights, and he fought... Steve Cunningham...
His 4th title defense.
He fought Derek Chisora.
Title.
Yeah, I'm joking.
No, the guy's had 20 fights, yeah? He's unified the division, unified title fight with Parker. He's fought the best guy in years who's dominated the division, and this is all in 20 fights.
But was that really a title? That was a paper title.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
The title he won was Tyson Fury, right? This is what the thing that does mean about this paper title thing. I'll say this before. If Fury, I mean, always Tyson Fury fans say, oh, that all these champions are paper champions until they beat Fury. So would they have said Hughie Fury was a paper champion if he beat Parker? No, they wouldn't. They just say it because I mean, Tyson Fury.
That's a good comment.
He had his own problems, Fury. He gave up the belts. He got himself in trouble. The division moves on. There's no paper champions in the division.
No, that's a good point. But what I was trying to say, I remember when Joshua won the belt. I remember all the press, and I got nothing against Joshua. I'm actually a Joshua fan. I am a bit of a critic because I think Matchroom and Sky, some of the things they do are over the top. But I remember, I think they were comparing Joshua's. They were saying he become a champion quicker than Ali and Tyson. I mean, come on, things like that, and obviously not true. That's what I think. You got to call your paper title. If Joshua beat the Klitschko that Fury beat, then he'd have done something quicker than Ali and Tyson. Because then he would have won that, legitimately would have been a champion in quicker fights. But he beat Charles Martin for a, what was it? Was it a vacant belt? Or no, he actually was for Charles Martin belt.
He beat Glasgow.
Yeah, he beat Martin. And Martin beat a guy that injured his leg. So the whole thing was, I thought, a bit. But nonetheless, Joshua did win it and he knocked Martin out in 2 rounds. So I'll give him credit. He done a number on him and it was good, actually. He got the title. I think what Joshua's done since he became champion has been good. He's been active and that's all he should be done. Quick fighting, and he got the Klitschko fight and he put, I think, Wilder to shame. I mean, it's odd that Wilder has taken him 40 fights to finally fight someone who's actually fought back and who's been a test. So I'll give Joshua credit for that.
So get in the ring with him. Get in the ring. Look, Hamed, I don't really understand what you're talking about here. Look, now, if Joshua fights for world title in the 16th fight, then technically he's in the playground of all of the other champions now. Now, Eddie Hearn has repeatedly talked about how the Wilder camp hasn't submitted any offers, made any approaches. Eddie Hearn has been embarrassed. He's basically manufactured a load of rubbish. The Wilder camp has expressed desires to fight in both. See, the exchange value of both fighters.
How could you say that when Joshua's got a fight lined up against the unified champion? I mean,
let me finish. Look, Eddie Hearn came out from the outset saying that there was no offers. Now we know for a fact because Eddie Hearn is on a podcast, he's on whatever, and he has explicitly stated that he did receive an email inquiry from Wilder's lawyer. Yeah. Now we don't know the salient issues of the offer, but what Eddie Hearn responded was that he was trying to propose a Dillian Whyte sweetener fight before that fight happened. Now, that is a typical negotiation sweetener that companies use in mergers and acquisitions, takeovers. You offer a man a 4 million or 4 billion pounds payday. Like at the time, Wilder's maximum payday was about 1.2 million or 1.4 from the Chris Arreola fight. So Eddie Hearn is obviously offering him a little bit more money. But do you really think Wilder is afraid of Dillian Whyte? He would knock his ass out in the first round, but he's reticent because he doesn't want to be Carlos Takam. I mean, look at the gift decisions. Look at the way referees are stopping fights. And no wonder these guys are a little bit reticent. But hold on.
I don't know what you're saying. All I can say is Wilder is not a draw. I mean, this whole fight, Wilder needs it much more. I'll say, let me say something. Let me finish. You had your time. Joshua's fighting in the unification with Parker. This is something Wilder could have chased, but again, Wilder's management and his whole team has been awful, and he's been promoted really badly.
Fight against Gerald Washington. As soon as Wilder had knocked him out, Parker, they cut off those communications. And
Okay. But anyway, let me just say that. So Joshua, if he beats Parker, I think that is the only time when the time is right. But if Matchroom and Sky take the tune-up with Jaron Miller, which I disagree, I think they should fight next. But
yeah,
I mean, it's happened with Golovkin, Canelo, it's happened with Mayweather, Pacquiao. So I'm not gonna really attack Matchroom. I mean, they've done everything right with Joshua. I don't really like Matchroom. I'm actually anti-Matchroom, but the job they've done with Joshua has been good. So if they want the layup fight, tune up with Jaron Miller, and then they want to fight Wilder, I'm fine with that. But I'd rather not see that. But
irrelevant roadblocks. That's exactly what they are.
But they gave Wilder offer to come over to the UK and build that fight. He doesn't want to do that. He wants to do in America. So, what do you expect Eddie Hearn to do? And I'm not a Hearn fan as well. Let me just say that. But Hearn, if they give the White offer and Wilder fought White and he beat White, and then Eddie Hearn didn't want to put Joshua in with Wilder, I'd call that a duck. But I mean, Wilder refused that flat out. He refused the fight.
He wanted $7 million, I think.
Exactly, and he wanted $7 million.
Your facts are totally incorrect. Let me clarify. Eddie Hearn has more or less admitted this now. Shelley Finkel has sent two package deals to the.
Do you really believe Shelley Finkel?
No. Basically, Eddie Hearn has he's responded. And if you let me finish, there were two package deals. One was a fight in London, and one was a fight in Las Vegas. So hold on. So if we're just talking about the perennial question that they've not received any offers, Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Sports are basically being untrue. Let's just keep it real. That's facts. Now, Eddie Hearn has come out and said that he didn't respond to those inquiries because he's talking about unreasonable demands. But that is a typical argument. Now, why do you think they're pursuing the Joseph Parker fight before the Wilder fight? Because if Joseph Parker didn't have a belt, would anybody be clamoring for this fight? No, they wouldn't, because Joseph Parker has looked horrible in his previous fights, and whether he should even be a world.
You could say the same about Wilder. He's looked horrible in how many fights has he looked horrible in? I'd say more than Parker.
Yeah, a lot of them. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I don't know where you're going.
Arthur Spilker was outboxing him.
I mean, what?
Okay,
Wilder.
He's a man.
Wilder is not a draw. I mean,
I agree, but he's still knocking out these people. He's still disposing of them, as opposed to.
They're both unbeaten. So I don't know where you're going with this. That's the point. I mean, Joshua's unbeaten as well. All three of them are unbeaten. If you put Fury in as well, I mean, they fight in their own style. I mean, Fury looked bad in how many fights did he look bad before the Klitschko fight? He got dropped by Cunningham. He looked bad against. I thought.
Dropped by Page.
What was his name? Paige, he looked bad against him as well, and I thought he was almost out. I mean, styles make fights, so they fight how they want. I don't think anyone's a draw outside Joshua. I still think if Joshua fights Fury, that's probably the biggest fight.
Oh yeah, 100%.
If they could get it right.
Listen, we're not talking about styles here. We're talking about Joshua, Wilder, why the fight isn't happening, who's delaying, who's actually putting in place the roadblocks and the so-called mandatories who try to extricate themselves from.
Can I ask a question? Why has Wilder's almost into 41 fights? Why has it taken him this long? And he's an Olympian like Joshua, and I think they both started boxing around about the same time. Why has it taken him this long?
Wilder's been fighting a lot longer.
No. They started. Wilder started when he was 15, he said, and Joshua started when he was 17.
That's he didn't want Vitaly Klitschko to knock him out.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that. He never wanted a Klitschko fight.
Relevant to this argument anyway, but that doesn't matter. We're talking about Joshua Wilder and Eddie Hearn's statements as to whether there's the veracity of his statement. And there are. Look. I'm trying to be objective. This is not a biased UK point of view. I'm just listening to all of these UK fanboys who don't understand the. They've not even looked at the evidence. They're just making accusations based on.
The thing is, you can talk about evidence all you like. The fact is, it's come out of Deontay Wilder's mouth on camera. Camera don't lie. He wants 50-50, and we all have to be a fucking mathematician to work out that don't make sense in business-wise. I mean, you've got a guy that can't fill up a bingo hall against a guy who's filling up stadiums. So, you know, you can talk about facts all you like, but the facts he come out now.
Alright, so it's a money thing. Let's be honest, it's a money thing.
And said it's a 60-40 split, and Wilder's people are happy with a 60-40 split. That's what he came out.
That was only last week. That was only 1 or 2 weeks ago.
Exactly.
Hearn says a lot of shit as well.
Wilder is not a draw. Wilder's not a draw in his own country, so I don't know.
Giving away tickets
in his own,
giving them away.
He's not even a draw. He's not even a draw in his own city.
I mean, and Joshua can always go and hopefully fight Fury if he comes back. I mean, there's so many options for Joshua. I mean, obviously the fight that everybody wants is Joshua Wilder, but if that fight is delayed or doesn't take place immediately, Joshua can do other things and still fill up arenas and get paid. What the hell is Wilder gonna do?
Joshua could fill up an arena fighting any one of us here.
I don't understand. The thing is, I don't understand the same people that are saying Mayweather didn't need Pacquiao. He could fight anyone, do a million buys, do this. And then they say this, they don't think about Joshua could fight anyone and do about 80, 90,000. I mean, he done 80,000 with Takam on 2 weeks' notice. That fight was sold out because of Joshua. He was going to fight Pulev. I don't think Wilder sold out 80,000 in about 5 fights, never mind 1 fight. I mean, Wilder is not a draw. I mean, the whole 50-50 is offer. I think he should have started off with 60-40. I mean, Wilder's marketability has been bad. I mean, the way he's fought in a lot of fights has been bad as well. But I'll give him credit. I think if they fight, I think it could be a toss-up fight. I'd say Joshua is probably the favorite on paper, but Wilder's management has been very bad. His marketability should have been much better. I mean, you got a guy that really is everything on paper you want in American heavyweight, and the fact that he's virtually unknown in his own country and is quite staggering.
It is a quarter of $1 million. It is a $250,000 fight. It was before that value. That value was talked about even before the Parker fight. Now, from a pay-per-view point of view, in the UK now, will Joshua Wilder exceed whatever the 2.1 or 2.2 million that was Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko? I think it will.
Both guys need each other. I think both guys need each other, except Anthony Joshua probably has more options. But they both need each other. Anthony Joshua wants that WBC strap. He wants that fight. And I think the fight is basically made. They're just promoting it.
I agree. And now that we have precise, you know what that means.
Dependent upon how you interpret the data.
What's up with all the transvestites in Hollywood, though?
Because if you're a postmodernist and you don't have any standards, you're always going to keep moving the goalpost, and you're never going to stick to your own standards because you don't have any standards.
I agree with what Precise just said. Not in the intro, but before the intro. And we talked about this before. Yeah, look, listen, guys. The fight is going to happen. And there's too much money to be made.
Yeah, this year or next year?
Well, I don't know. But then again, you made a good point, Bucho, about how Joshua does have options. But I don't think he has as many options as Mayweather and Pacquiao did. Because, well, hold on, Hamed, please, just let me make one point here, which is that Pacquiao and
Felix Verdejo got knocked out.
What? Holy moly!
Just got knocked out.
Congratulations to the other guy.
Jeez, Louise.
Fuck.
He was.
I wanted a Puerto Rican fucking fighter to come up, man.
That was TK. Well overdue knockout.
Who did he get knocked out?
It's a TKO in the 10th round.
Felix Verdejo, I mean, it's taken him, what, 10 years to fight a legit opponent? I mean, didn't even realise he was fighting today, to be honest with you. That's how relevant he is.
Yeah. First of all, we should say spoiler alert for anybody that wants to watch the fight later on. But spoiler alert, spoiler alert.
Nobody out there wants to watch this fight. Nobody wants to watch the Verdejo fight.
No, he was never very entertaining. You're right. He was never very entertaining. And but like Bucho says.
Who did he get knocked over?
Well, again, I gotta say spoilers. Felix Verdejo just got knocked out, according to Michael. But Michael, you told us he was looking bad in there, right, during the fight?
He started off. I was watching the fight from the beginning to the end, and he was starting off doing okay, and after the 4th round, he seemed like he was starting to gas out and wasn't looking too good, and Lozada just kept on coming forward, and honestly, it was like a perfect copy of watching Margarito versus Cotto, and that's exactly what happened. Felix Verdejo was running around for the last 5 or 6 rounds, kept getting hit, got dropped in the 10th round, and got up and kept on surviving, and he got stopped.
Wow.
Well, that's Bob Arum's. That's another 5 years taking off Bob Arum's long left life.
Yeah, man.
He must be right Asian.
Yeah, I think Bob Arum has
When
lost
did that
all the faith he
motorcycle
had on him.
accident-
What was that, Hamed? What did you say?
When did that motorcycle accident happen? He had a motorcycle
That's a good point,
accident.
actually. If I was for Day, I wouldn't go into MotoGP. For sure.
I mean, look.
That
No,
might,
he
that
fell
might
off a
be his
bike.
only option now, though.
What was that?
I said MotoGP might be his best option now.
Yeah. Either that or getting into knife fights in
He
Brooklyn.
get knocked out in either sport. One, he's been knocked out in both sports, basically. So
Oh, come on now. Why do you have to put him down like that, eh?
That was the love.
Yeah, that's gonna be
Did
his new
anyone
that's
see
gonna be his
Steve
new
Kim's
intro.
Tweet?
nah,
Did
Steve
anyone
Kim
see-
shit.
No, what,
no,
Hamed,
that
Hamed.
tweet about him, though, that was...
Say something negative about Hamed, say something negative about Verdejo so we can put that in your intro.
No, it's okay. I don't want anything about... I'd rather not hear my voice. It's okay. I like the intro, but what I was going to say... Did you
Damn,
hear
up
that?
PD. Side note.
No, but that motorcycle accident, I think Steve Kim said something, tweeted it out, and I think that was a bit low as well, what he said about it. But he looked like a decent prospect, but I don't know what happened to him. I think he was fighting some really bad guys in his early career, and he was kind of boring in a couple of fights, but...
He's been a prospect for about 10 years.
That's true. Lomachenko beat him as an amateur, and he beat Valdez. He's beaten some very good fighters. I mean, people have questioned Lomachenko's amateur pedigree, which is ridiculous, because, I mean, to win 396 fights out of, 397 amateur fights, that shows good the guy must be to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
there have been guys like Mayweather Ward who have been handed more than one loss in the amateurs and who weren't really that good of amateurs. Lomachenko is a really good amateur. That just goes to show as well.
Yeah, and he has shown that he can be a good pro as well. I mean, but Bucho, like you're saying in the chat room, this isn't good for boxing, right? That Verdejo has lost.
Nah, because I wanted some Puerto Rican superstar to come up, right? But he was our last hope.
Well,
Just get Fidel on a contaminated meat, he'll be fine then. Get him over to Mexico.
yeah, get him some beef. Get him some Mexican beef, and he'll become a middleweight, so he'll have to change divisions. But yeah, get him some. Now, even Bob Arum had lost confidence in the guy. He's up to 2 years.
I did too, bro. I mean, it was bound to happen. This knockout was just bound to happen. And the way I've watched a few of his.
I thought
I watched a few of his fights, and to me, it was a knockout waiting to happen.
I thought he's gonna end up like Gamboa, somewhere like that. I thought he might get knocked out along the way, but I didn't think he'd get knocked out this early.
At least Gamboa got knocked out at level 1 position.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good
point.
I think he kind of went. I think people lost interest with Verdejo. I mean, he was out of sight for such a long time, man. But he got knocked out. I don't know who he got knocked out, but he's been knocked out like a level that I don't think many people probably thought he'd get knocked out.
Didn't realise he was fighting. Says it all.
Well, you know what?
What about that Puerto Rican guy on the Lomachenko Rigondeaux card? He looked pretty good, no?
Yeah, he won today too.
I can't remember his name. Saved my life.
I mean, let's be real. Puerto Rico's best fighter at the moment. I mean, if you want to claim him, it's probably Danny Garcia.
Oh man, he's not even Puerto Rican.
Angel Acosta at 108 is a fantastic fighter. Machado at 130 as well, world champion. Very decent fighter. But Angel Acosta, I think, is the best Puerto Rican.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like a Trinidad like superstar where he can draw a big fan base.
I think Cotto was the only one that kind of followed it up. I don't think anyone else has come close to Trinidad.
Hey, what if Miguel Cotto's son gets into boxing?
Oh god.
What? No.
I don't think they allow you to fight. I don't think they allow you to fight with eyeliner on, do they?
Well,
it'd be Orlando Cruz Mark II.
You know what I mean? Get him in with Ryan Garcia. That'd be a great fight.
Oh, why is Ryan Garcia?
He's been taking selfies on Twitter with face masks on and all that crap. He has blokes saying they want him in bed and everything.
What?
Okay.
Seriously, follow Ryan Garcia's tweets. Like, he'll post a picture up of himself and he'll have blokes in there saying,
Okay, I gotta see this,
don't
man.
go for girls, go for me or something like that. It's bad.
What
It's
the?
weird. Does anyone rate that guy? Is he meant to be good? I've seen a bit of him on the mitts and that.
In his garage.
Ryan Garcia. No, but I'm saying, does anyone think he'll go far?
Hard to say right now, isn't it? He's still not fought anybody.
He's calling out Javante Davis. Are they in the same weight class? I haven't really paid too much attention.
Ryan Garcia a lightweight. You not?
Ooh, Javante was a super featherweight, but I think he failed to make the weight. It was his last fight.
Yeah, but Ryan Garcia, if he can actually fight, like if he turns out to be a good fighter, he'll have a big fan base. He'll be quite popular. Mostly because he's got a lot of girls and a lot of homosexuals following him. That's about it. But
I think Golden Boy are trying to hype him up. I can't think of any other prospects. I think he's probably one of their main prospects right now.
Seth Mitchell.
Seriously, I mean, I'm surprised Wilder didn't fight Seth Mitchell.
Okay, there's definitely something going on with Ryan Garcia. I mean, look, I'm just gonna put up his Twitter.
I'll take it be on his Twitter, have you?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Well, hold on a second. Okay, that selfie looks a little. First of all, he's wearing Mickey Mouse ears, but they're not Mickey Mouse ears. They're the what's the name of Mickey Mouse's bitch? The one with the bow. He's got a bow. Wait, who's got the?
What's going on, man? Mute your mic.
Yeah, I think it's Cameron. Cameron, I think your speakers are on. Mute your. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Like some. Wait a minute. Who says? Yeah, Michael Stuck saying mini. He's got the mini ears bow on. So okay, what the fuck? Then he's got a picture of himself shirtless at the beach. Okay, you know you're supposed to take your shirt off at the beach. That's fine. But why are you posting that on Twitter? And then look at him.
The guy's only 19, to be honest.
Yeah, but
I wasn't doing that at 19, man.
Well,
is this?
Are you talking about Cotto's?
No, we're talking about Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, we're talking about Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia.
Who?
You know what? He looks like that kid. He looks like that kid a little bit. Who's the one who's doing the anti-gun rallies in Florida? He looks a little bit like that. What's his name? David Hogg or Gog?
Is he same age as Shakur Stevenson?
I think so. He looks pretty young. Like he looks like he's fresh out of high school or something. He does not look like a fighter. He's got the Omar Figueroa thing going on for him, you know, like where you look at him and you don't imagine that he's a boxer. And like here, he's got some.
Well, yeah, that'd be the same as Miguel Cotto's son if he turned a boxer, wouldn't he? You wouldn't think he's a boxer.
Yeah, I mean, look at this.
He's got a mic on, I think.
He's got his shirt lifted up. I mean, what's going on here? I mean,
I think that's off, man.
I'm gonna take this off. Yeah.
Talking about feminine. What's De La Hoya's nephew? I haven't seen a lot of him lately.
Diego De La Hoya.
Diego De La Hoya.
De La Hoya.
Diego De La Hoya. Is that his...
Yeah, that's his name. That's his name, Diego De La Hoya.
Yeah,
He's like heading down the Magdalena route, isn't he?
Jeez Louise. Cameron, your microphone volume is too high, man. There's a lot of distortion coming from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, better now.
You got your speaker on. Have you got your speaker on?
Right, man, let me sort this shit out. Carry on.
Alright, man, alright. Yeah, he sounds like he's screaming every time. Ah, what I think? Alright, take it easy. But, what were we saying? You were saying something.
You know, Magdaleno. Yeah, I think he said something. Magdaleno, has he even fought since that fight with Doné?
I think he fought once. He fought once.
Yeah, he's been very inactive. I thought he looked really good against Doné. I mean, it was a kind of a competitive fight, but I was quite impressed with him. But I don't think we've seen him much since that fight.
He's been injured. He's been injured. He's fighting that
dog bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna fight the boy.
Was it Dogbo's father said some very controversial?
Yeah, we talked about it in the beginning of the show with Stu, and he said that he's gonna beat Magdaleno. He hopes he doesn't turn into a chicken, and that once he beats him, he's gonna throw him over the wall back to Mexico and then hand the belt over to Trump. Now, like I was saying with Stu, I'll just give you my position. I thought that's just trash talking, just a little trash talking to promote the fight. I don't think there was anything really too abrasive from it, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think he crossed the line or?
Listen, if Bernard Hopkins can get away with what he said to Calzaghe, then I'll let it pass.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean,
Good point.
if Magdaleno said something, or Magdaleno's dad said something about Dogbo's, I don't think that was right. I don't think it'd be the same, like, sort of, probably a bigger reaction.
Okay, so you.
This is a sport. This is a sport where people punch each other in the face for 36 minutes. I mean, I'm sure you shouldn't be getting offended by a few harmless words. I mean, you really, we're in a sport now where two men beat each. People getting offended by a few words.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, what about Joshua's superior race? Don't you think that was kind of out of line or not?
Well, apparently he reckons that he didn't say that, so I don't know the ins and outs of that one. But
No. That was Eddie Hearn first said it was a hacked account. I think everyone's seen that video.
Well, I'm not sure.
That was not
I'm
hacked.
sure.
No. First he said it was a fake account. That was not a fake account.
Well,
if
people
that
are
is the
gonna
case,
criticize you because you're an
Hearn was
AJ
playing
hater.
No, he said it. He believes it, and 80-90% of black people agree with him. So I don't see what the big surprise is.
It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for this. It doesn't look good for the superior race if a 41-year-old man is beating you around the fucking ring. Do you know what I mean?
And Joshua said some very controversial things. I mean, the thing was he said about about women as well recently. I mean, I'm not too sure if the media are trying to make this guy out like to be a proper saint, but I don't think he's as humble as people think. I don't think all this humble thing is. I think it's a bit of an act.
Hey, let's be real. We're men here. We've all bashed women.
Are we?
Do it on a constant basis. All right, we don't get nasty about it, but we all have our little digs at women. I mean, just like
So it's
when
just guy
Trump got
talk.
caught doing the.
No, but he's a criminal as well.
Caught in, when Trump got caught talking about women, like, they called it locker room. And you go, we're grown men here, man. I feel, are we going to get upset with him now? I mean,
No, I'm saying he's had history for dealing drugs and getting actually arrested for. I mean, the way the media of Sky, especially Sky Sports, and I was actually at the media workout for the Joshua Takam fight. I'll probably be at the Parker fight as well because it's in Cardiff. The way the people are trying to make it out like he's some sort of saint. I mean, the guy, God, let's be real, he's not as humble as people are trying to make it out.
Dillian White said it. Dillian White is not what he's meant to be because he calls him Femi, doesn't he? He goes, Femi. I mean, this is a guy that used to sell cocaine on the street. This is a guy that'd sell you a gram of coke in a heartbeat. So, come on, at the end of the day, let's not pretend he's fucking Gabrielle the Angel here. He's a rockman. But I don't care. I'm tuning in to watch people get their heads bashed in, basically. I mean, I don't mean to sound too vile about it, but I tune in to see a good fight, and I don't a private school posh snobby white boy or some big black dude from the ghetto. I don't give a fuck as long as it's a decent fight.
Very well said, man. Couldn't have said it better, really. I think people listen, I'll ask you a question. I'll ask, and anybody can answer this one. What do you prefer? Somebody that just comes out and says, listen, I'm a racist, and I do believe that just based on my race, I'm superior to everybody else, or somebody that's a covert racist, somebody that's an undercover racist, and like a snake in the grass. What do you think?
To be fair, I mean, look, if somebody come down the street and call me a white boy, I wouldn't really care. Fair enough. I'd rather someone call me down the street and call me a white boy. You know what I mean? Than somebody kind of, kind of go along another way. If somebody believes in something they say and they say it, then so be it. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I wish somebody could call me a white boy. Maybe that way I could finally get into the country club. Let me tell you that much right now. Now look, we do have some other things going on here that I wanted to talk about. Ryota Murata He's going to be taking on some Italian guy that only has 5 knockouts out of 27 wins. I've been meaning to cover the Murata case because the middleweight division is getting very exciting. There's a lot of big names there, or a lot of interesting names, I should say, and there's some names that could potentially move up to make for some interesting fights. Murata is a gold medalist. He is a bona fide puncher. He is an entertaining fighter to watch, and as you saw, he handled Hassan Ndam, who's a good mover. My question to you guys is, who would you rather see Murata fight right now? Like, if you could make any fight, you were the boxing's guru, you were boxing's czar, and you could make any fight you wanted, which fight would you put Murata in?
Andrade.
All right, Cameron, go ahead.
Andrade.
Andrade, really?
Yeah, Andrade needs to fight someone. I mean, he's fighting that Derevchenko, isn't he, or wherever the hell it is.
Yeah.
But
That's a good fight.
yeah, that's a good fight. But I want to see Andrade fight Murata. I think that'd be a good fight. I think stylistically it's a good fight. I think he'll
But
make
he might get
Andrade.
knocked off by. He might get knocked out by Derevchenko, and if he does, I don't think people will care about Andrade that much. So
And nobody really cares about
I think-
Andrade anyway.
yeah, but I think he'll become completely irrelevant if he gets knocked out. I mean, he's
Basically, completely
HBO.
irrelevant if it is. He's fought
No, but
nobody.
HBO I've got him on some sort of like. I think they signed him up. I think he was on Showtime. Then HBO got. If
Free fight
Derevchenko does. No, but once if Derevchenko knocks him out, then he's no longer playing the middleweight division. I think at the moment we can name about 6 or 7 middleweights that are about on the same level. I think Golovkin, Canelo out, then there's probably about 5 or 6 of them that.
Yeah, I mean, what you got? Saunders, Charlo, Murata.
Jacobs,
Yeah.
Andrade, and Derevchenko. That's another one. What is that, 5?
Yeah, there's a
I mean,
few
you
there.
got about. I mean, that's not bad. I put Lemieux in there as well. I know he looked really awful against Saunders, but I mean, if you can mix and match some good fights, then
He's still making
you can make
excuses.
some
for
good
that
fight.
fight.
That was all. He got exposed, but that just goes to show how bad Lemieux was. I mean, people were. Golovkin did beat him up quite badly, but I remember a lot of Golovkin fans and people were saying that he was his best name. I don't think Lemieux, even I'd say that welterweight version of Kell Brook was probably better than Lemieux.
Yeah, Martin Murray is. Martin Murray would beat them.
Yeah, Martin Murray, Curtis Stevens was probably even better than Lemieux.
Now, Lemieux knocked him out.
No, in
Yeah,
terms
nah,
of
not Curtis
in terms
Stevens,
before
man,
before they fought Golovkin. I thought Stevens had a bit of momentum. I thought Stevens put up a better fight, but I mean Lemieux knocked him out, so I think people will remember him for that.
Yeah, I'm interested in Derevchenko's going to be taking on Andrade. Who has he beaten? Because I'm looking at the ratings here from Ring Magazine. They have him rated as number 4.
Who's that? Andrade?
No, Derevchenko.
Oh, I was going to say Andrade's beat nobody in middleweight.
That's true. He's beaten some yeah, you're right. He hasn't beaten anyone in the top 10.
He beat
His best wins Willie Nelson or Vanis Martirosyan. That's probably his best win.
But that was at 155.
That's what I'm saying. He's fought nobody at middleweight yet.
This is what I don't understand. I mean, when you had Charlo and Jacobs on Showtime, they should have matched them up. But instead, when Jacobs goes to HBO, now they start talking about that fight. I doubt that fight will happen. Same with Andrade. I think when he was on Showtime, I don't see why they didn't match him up with one of the Charlos. The whole thing, I think, is a bit bad. Like, when they're all on one network, they could have made these fights, but when they all, when some of them leave, then they start talking about making these fights.
Yeah, BDA is gonna be right back. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, what I'm trying to think. I'm just trying to think. We've got Ramirez-Imam tonight. What other fights are there tonight? Because I've not really kept up to the schedule this week.
Gavazdik against
Channel 5.
Michael Conlon. No, that's
Yeah,
finished.
Joe Joyce. Yeah.
Joyce, does anyone know what happened? I don't want to be a spoiler, but
It's not
Joe
happened
Joyce.
yet. It's not.
Joyce
Come on,
knocked him out to 1 minute. I think inside 1 minute. I mean, is anyone impressed with Joyce?
Joe Joyce. I mean, fought Lewis and Dinny. I mean, he's fought 2 really nobly since that. It's time to step up. I mean, what, he's
No,
32?
but that was
isn't he?
come on. No, but that was come on in his first couple of fights. I mean, I
They were
think he's.
talking about, after he beat Lewison, they were talking about, oh, we're going to go for the British, we're going to go for the Commonwealth. Where is it then? Where is that?
But Chisora turned him down. Chisora turned him down.
He's
didn't
been
he?
chasing Chisora. That's a tough
Yeah,
fight.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good fight.
And
Yeah.
Chisora turned him down. Chisora turned him down.
Yeah, of course he will, because he's going to get shit money, and if he gets beat, his career's over, basically.
No, but they gave him off on the he and Bellew undercard, and Chisora completely ducked him. He said, "I don't want to fight a guy with 2 fights or something."
Yeah, Chisora
They
needs a lot.
offered
Chisora won't take that fight unless he gets paid mega money. And that's just not there. It's not going to happen.
Chisora got knocked out. Not knocked out. He got beaten by some guy in, I can't remember. Was in Monaco. I can't remember the guy's
Yeah,
name. But he's been
Kobayashi,
beaten,
the European title.
and he's been beaten up a lot of times. I don't know. I think Chisora is probably ducking. I mean, Dylan White was saying Chisora ducked Joshua as well. I don't know about Chisora if he handpicked some of these guys. Like,
No, Chisora he turned down he got offered a Joshua fight, didn't he? And then he decided to fight Pulev because he thought if he beats Pulev, then he'll get more money for Joshua fight, and he got beat. That's what happened there.
and yeah, I mean, who is Dubois? Would you say Dubois is more? I don't know about Joyce. I think Joyce is not that good. I think someone is saying watch the Usyk and Joyce fight. I mean, obviously there's a complete different level. Usyk is arguably the best cruiserweight in the world, and Joyce is just a novice. But I think Usyk made him look really bad in the amateurs. But Joyce as a heavyweight looks really slow. I'm not too sold on this guy. I think he's like a statue. He's too slow and he's very stiff. I think if he does,
slow man.
if he steps up, I think he'll get knocked out.
God.
I think Dubois is probably better than Joyce.
No way.
Dubois
No way.
is terrible.
Joyce
I
would
don't know what all
splatter
that is
Dubois
about.
right now. He would absolutely
What you think is
murder.
good?
I think Dubois would. I think Joyce.
He was splattering all over the place. It's terrible. He's like now Dubois.
Yeah,
he reminds me of like a poor man Bruno, if you get what I mean. all muscle, all for show. I mean, everything's sloppy, everything's slow, everything's telegraphed. I mean, the guy's got about £10 worth of diesel in his fucking tank, and then
No. So
it's just nothing there. I believe fucking Gorman is ahead of him. Gorman is
I'm not.
Dubois for me.
I'm not saying he's the next big thing, but I'm not really sold on Joyce. I'm just saying I don't think Joyce is that good. I think Nick Webb or some of these other prospects would probably give Dubois a good fight. I think Dubois is only 20. I think he needs time. They need to develop him properly. I think.
What do you think of Dave Allen versus Dubois?
Dubois, man. I don't. Dave Allen is not good, man. He's terrible. Come on.
I don't know the guy. He's had 25. I mean, 20 years old. But and the guys to learn. He's a big give him that, but he is miles away. I mean, Frank Warren talks about this guy like he's Anthony Joshua Mark II. He does. I mean,
do you think he's better than Joshua? Do you think he's better than Joshua when Joshua's 20? Or
no chance. He's a gold medal.
No, but Joshua did not win a gold medal when he was 20. 20. What was Joshua? How was Joshua when he was 20? Because I didn't really follow Joshua's full amateur career.
Joshua was selling cocaine at 20, so it doesn't really matter. We can't work. So
I think it's pointless to talk about Dubois, honestly, because the kid needs a long time before.
Wait a minute, you Americans know who Dubois is?
Yeah.
No, most people don't, but I have an idea. I saw his fights, and trust me, he needs 3 to 5 years before he's worth.
Why would you say? Is it to do with his last fight? Because I didn't really watch his full last fight.
Precise Punches just confirmed that more Americans know Dubois than Deontay Wilder.
That's sad.
But
there's a lot of hype around the guy, but like he doesn't have any boxing skills yet, and he's just a kid, like zero experience. He doesn't know what he's doing in there, and it's kind of sad to watch. And he's still, his muscle memory, he has to relearn everything he knows every 6 months because he's probably still growing into his body, if you know what I'm saying. So, like, you really can't judge him. I mean, go look at Tyson Fury in his first 10 fights or so and how sloppy and clumsy and weird he was. And then he turns maybe 26, 27, and the fluidity kicked in, and he just became, more of a, I don't know how to put it, but he's just, it's like having a puppy, and your puppy's on those puppy legs, and it really takes him like 2 years before he's really in his physical prime. You know what I'm saying? So Dubois is nothing to like get excited about, nothing to really waste time talking about, because he could get knocked out if they don't move him cautiously and they don't.
Yeah.
He could get knocked out by someone, and then it's gonna be like, well, why the fuck do we even waste time talking about this guy? You know what I mean? So.
What about Yard? What do Americans think of him? Because I mean, Box Nation and BT and Frank Warren are trying to sell. I think Anthony Yard is probably in a different stage of his career, because I think
he's in the wrong division, in my opinion.
He'll be challenging for a title, but I'm not too sold on.
He'd get destroyed.
He get destroyed at light heavyweight though as well.
So he's in the wrong division, yeah. In my opinion.
Yeah, again, the casual gets excited by a bit of muscle. They see a bit of muscle and stirring it.
And that's the thing. Can he pass like real VADA testing even? Can he?
He's got the cornrows going as well.
We're seeing a lot of this in Britain at the moment. We're seeing these young guys come through, muscles popping out of them, like Anthony Yard, Dubois, and Joshua. All these guys. The casual sees this and they get hyped up they get on the train.
State-sponsored doping program, guys.
Anyone knows? Go on, bro.
No, I was just gonna say it's the state-sponsored doping program. You know what I mean? And I'm not picking on the UK because every country has it.
Hey, mate, I'm not going to disagree with you there, because them boys do look like they're doing.
Come on, it's insane what these guys are looking like. You know what I mean?
Do you think?
Look at Joe Joyce. I'm not saying he's never done anything, but that's a guy who looks natural for his size. You know what I mean? He's basically Anthony Joshua's size, but his muscles look very natural to me. You know what I mean? He's not inflated like Anthony Joshua. He's naturally the size that Joshua artificially achieved.
Joshua's clean, bro. Joshua's clean.
I know, clean until proven guilty.
Totally. Clean. He's very clean.
No, I was going to say, Yard. Do you think Yard is just a hype job? Because, I mean, the hype Yard is getting, I think
you guys rush these guys too much. I think UK rushes everybody wants the next biggest thing, and you guys don't develop. He's talented.
The promoters force
but
him
you
down.
Got to develop him.
Yeah, exactly.
The promoters force him down all the time.
Yeah, exactly. UK is famous for that.
They get overhyped. I mean, look at Joshua as well. He is getting hyped through the ceiling. I mean, the Klitschko fight was a backlash for him. I mean, he almost got knocked out in that fight. I think the timing of it is probably right. I think they were talking about it the year before, but Joshua was hyped up a lot. I mean, just compare it to Wilder. Look how long it took Wilder to... I didn't really hear about Wilder, I'm not lying, until about 2012, I think. Maybe 2012, and I think he was going back and forth with Fury on Twitter, and I think
there was the
fight.
There was nothing
he's been a professional for a long time. I mean, the way they hype up the fighters here is different, but I think Anthony Yard just looks like a bit of a hype job. I'm not too sold on the guy. He'll have to fight some decent fighters. He has to step it up. I think he's more of a Hay wannabe, man. I think the way he fights, I don't think he's that good as well. I don't think he's anywhere as good as Hay was as a cruiserweight.
But using the same sort of logic again with Daniel Dubois, Yard is very much in the same position. He only had 15 or so amateur fights. He's a complete novice at this stage. So
yeah, but there's an age difference. I mean, age does matter. He's about 27 or something, isn't he? I mean,
but he's a novice.
Yeah, but there's other fighters that have done that as well. I mean, how many amateur fights does Gassiev have? Did he not have about
He was
10?
he was amateur. He was amateur for 2 years.
So I mean, you could nitpick all you want. I mean, there's fighters that have done that before and
It's got nothing to do with nitpicking. It's
No, I'm trying to.
basically a natural talent, but you're developing skills by gaining experience in the professional ranks.
He's 20.
Opposed to what you did
He's 27.
It's a totally different argument, Hamed.
Of course, it's a different argument. One is a 20-year-old kid.
World class. Gassiev was sparring world class post-Soviet fighters when he was a kid, and he was getting his ass beat by like legends. So you got to take that into account.
You can't compare the two. You can't compare it.
It's fiction, though.
But you can't compare the two. What I'm trying to say, one is a kid. He's 20 years old. Yard is a fully grown man. He's talking about. I mean, Yard is talking about fighting for world titles. I mean, why would you want to develop a guy who's been hyped up this for a while, and he's had enough fights to be challenging for?
Kovalev would destroy him.
They'd all destroy him. I think the only guy he probably has a chance would probably be someone on the European level, maybe above the European, maybe fringe world level, but I'm not even too sure about that.
I mean, Yard's there to be hit. I mean, he's number 2 in the WBO. I mean, if he got called to fight Kovalev now, Kovalev would wipe him out. Completely wipe him.
Oh dear, I'd say so.
I
think Frank Buglioni. I think Frank Buglioni is the one he's chasing. Buglioni could be a very tough fight for him as well.
Did he duck that Burton guy? I don't understand that whole thing. What happened with that?
Yeah, wow, they didn't want the fight. Burton wanted the fight, but...
Yo, BDA.
But why did he turn down?
UK's taking over boxing and your podcast.
Yeah, what the hell is going on here?
I know. Let's not talk about UK prospects too much, guys. I mean, we know a little bit about them, but
yeah, I don't know
anymore. Kind of like, yeah, I don't think people care too much about. Yard is a hype job. I think that's well established. And anybody in the top 10 most likely beats him. Put him in there with Marcus Brown. Let's see what he got.
Marcus Brown is gonna fight Kovalev.
He's about to get destroyed by Kovalev.
Well, the reason why I was letting this discussion...
He's a fighter with some talent, but it's going to take a bit of time to develop that talent.
I kind of agree with that, but I think it's too late to develop. I mean, he's 27 or 8. I mean, you can't really develop a guy from that age. I mean, he's on... I mean, a Yard we're talking about. Dubois is a guy maybe you could develop. I don't know if Dubois is
I don't mean at the same rate as a Dubois. Not at the same rate, but you can still develop him. You can still put him in with better competition. He can, if you wanted, he can go for British, Commonwealth, Europeans within the next 12 months. That is a realistic timetable for the experience he's accumulated thus far. But a world title fight within the next month.
He's in a tough division.
Let's move to the next topic, like BDA said.
Well, the reason why I was letting people talk about this, because it's an interesting discussion if people want to talk about the prospects. But like Precise said, and we talked about this with Precise, I think a couple of weeks ago, which was that when you talk about guys like Dubois, you know, they don't even have 10 fights yet. And they're, you know, in Dubois' case, the guy's 21, I think, 21 years old. It's very,
20. He just turned 20.
Oh, I beg your pardon. That's what I'm saying, is that it's very hard to tell where they're going at this age. He hasn't even fought somebody that's giving him a good fight yet. Somebody that's gonna really... I mean, look at Verdejo. Apparently, from what I'm reading, Verdejo was being pushed, and a lot of people think that he had no heart. That as soon as he was pushed, boom, that's it, he gave up. So you really do need to see a guy tested. I mean, look at Anthony Joshua. At least he had that Dylan White war before he took on Klitschko. Imagine if he had never been dropped before. And all of a sudden, Klitschko drops him. I mean, would he have gotten up? Would he have had the wherewithal to survive? I don't know. We don't know.
Can I ask a question? Because this, I think, is interesting. There's been a lot of so-called hype jobs from the UK, and people are calling Joshua hype job. And I think I've seen Precise comment saying 2 hype jobs, Wilder and Joshua. Do you still think Joshua is a hype job?
Yes.
Precise. No, Precise said Joshua's a... I don't know if he said Joshua's a hype job, but he said there was 2 hype jobs.
Yeah, I think both of them are hype jobs. And when I say hype job, I use the term very literally. I'm not saying that they suck necessarily, but they could. All I'm saying is that their promoter is doing a great job of hyping them beyond their actual ability. So they're overrated, right? But when you say these things, a lot of people get into their feelings and they think that you're saying that they suck.
No, what I meant was, before he fought Klitschko, I think you could see that. And I think he kind of got exposed by Klitschko in a sense, but I'm saying, I don't know, this. If he got knocked out by Klitschko, I'd call him a hype job. I don't know, that's how I don't know, maybe I got a different definition, but...
In Germany, he would have been knocked out. In Germany, he wouldn't have made it out of the whatever round it was. I've made this point before. He gets knocked out in Germany. So,
but that's just hypothetically. I'm saying he won the fight, so I wouldn't really call him a hype job. But I don't know if you define it by something else. Then
yeah, I do. Yeah, but like, look at the example of Pacquiao De La Hoya, or maybe De La Hoya versus Chavez, or any old fighter in past his prime, 35 to 40 something, fighting in the new up and coming guy. What does usually happen in those fights? Complete and utter destruction, right? Joshua couldn't do that. So,
see, that's Hamed raises a good point, a good question, I should say, because what defines a hype job? Like, for example, Usyk was a guy that a lot of boxing fans were hyping, and in my mind, I don't think he had before what was the fight that he struggled against, the American guy?
Michael Hunter.
Hunter, yes. Before the Hunter fight, a lot of people were praising him, and I'm thinking, okay, in that case, that was a case of overhyping by fans. But then, like Precise is saying, there is such a thing as overhyping by promoters as well. For example, Chris Eubank, who lost not that long ago. Another example of British overhype. I mean, this is a guy who was fighting on pay-per-view over in the UK, and he hadn't even beaten anyone decent, and a lot of people were saying that he was going to be the #1 super middleweight, he can beat this guy, he can beat that guy. Of course, boxing fans, on the other hand, they weren't sold, but the way the media was portraying it, they were putting Eubank Jr. as the next coming of the 168-pound champion. So those are two examples right there.
I mean, he's a hype job, but Joshua has knocked out all his fighters. He is unbeaten. I think the Takam stoppage was bad, but I mean, he beat Klitschko. So I mean, I think if he lost, I think you could call him a hype job. I think he won. It wasn't a controversial decision or anything. Maybe it was a premature stoppage. I mean, that's definitely debatable. I mean, some people think it was a really bad stoppage. I mean, I could understand that. I mean, somewhere in the middle, but I mean, he won the fight. He won the fight. It wasn't like a robbery decision or something like. Sometimes there's a hype job that gets completely exposed and then gets a bad decision, and I think you could say that's a hype job because I mean, they lost the fight and they just awarded a bogus decision. I mean, it depends how you define a hype job. I think. I think Wilder.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think if Wilder gets knocked out, then maybe you could define it. I mean, there's a question mark over Ortiz's age, and I don't think we'll ever know how good Ortiz really was, because I don't think, like rightly so, I don't think he's really beaten anyone, which people will go by. I thought going by the eye test, he was a decent fighter, but like I said, we'll never know how really. I don't think we could say how good he was. I mean, Klitschko was a proven fighter.
Well, you bring a good point, Hamed. You bring a good point, because. Because what if you really wanted to, I think we could all do this, by the way. We could put an asterisk next to every big win. For example, Joshua, a lot of people put an asterisk next to the Klitschko win because they say, well, Klitschko was old and he hadn't fought in a year. With Lomachenko, you could put an asterisk next to the Walters win because Walters hadn't fought in a year. With Errol Spence, you can put an asterisk next to the Brook win because Brook had been demolished by Golovkin and he had that eye injury. So there's no such thing as a 100% clean performance in boxing. You know, it's all you can do is look at the results in the ring, and you what happened outside as well. Combine that into the equation, and you go from there. But nobody is really 100% satisfied, even when a fighter gets a big win. Oh, that's the way it seems to me.
Like what you're saying about Usyk. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
I don't think you're giving him enough credit because. Actually, factually, he's the furthest thing away from a hype job. You name me another fighter, and I'm not talking about today, I'm talking about history that has fight in and fight out gone into the champion's backyard, obviously except Sergey Kovalyov, another guy that's not a hype job, that's traveled all over the world, gone into the champion's backyard when he's the A-side, and kicked their ass. And so, yeah, he had some close fights against, top level guys. I mean, even Michael Hunter, I know it's the amateurs and shit, but he beat Beterbiev in the amateurs, and the guy was fouling from the very first bell to the very end of the fight. So, and he still kicked his ass and knocked him out. Should have been a knockout anyway. But so he's the furthest thing away from a hype job. There isn't another fighter in boxing. Well, I mean, there are some probably, but that's really doing it like he's doing it. And most fighters aren't even capable of winning in the manner that he does on the road like he does it.
Well,
so, and besides all that, he's not even on the pound for pound list, or is he?
Yeah, I think he.
Nah, he is. I got him. I got him my top 10.
Yeah, but the Spring Magazine and all that haven't got him. ESPN haven't.
Okay. He's not a hype job. I mean, some people call Golovkin a hype job. I mean, can you argue that? I think you can.
Guys, imagine if Anthony Joshua went to Germany and beat Klitschko in Germany. He went to US and beat Wilder in the US, and then he went to New Zealand and beat Parker in New Zealand. I mean, he'd be the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world, no questions asked. Am I wrong?
No.
No, but I'm saying no questions asked. But I mean, Golovkin prior to the Jacobs fight, who had he really beaten? I mean, you could call Golovkin a hype job. I mean, some people have said that. I mean, I don't think that. I don't believe that. And I'm just saying some people have debated.
I think people with the word hype job. I mean, a lot of people think hype job is it basically is someone that basically because they've fought nobody. It doesn't mean into nothing. We all know we've got the eye test. We can all work out who's a decent fighter if we know about boxing. So a hype job is someone that has been praised to be a decent fighter and he's garbage. That's a hype job. Where the media are bigging him up to be.
The argument was.
But can I finish, bro, please? Let me finish. Let me finish, please.
You're cutting up.
Well, the difference is, even if you haven't fought anyone, you still see with the eye where you're a decent fighter. A hype job is when the media builds him up and he's shit. So Golovkin didn't fight anyone, but we all knew he was a world-class fighter. So he can't be a hype job. My idea of a hype job is someone where the media says this guy's going to be the next best thing, and he goes and gets knocked out by a bum. That's a hype job to me.
Well, okay, I just want to clarify the thing about what I said about Usyk.
Yeah,
because
I agree with that.
Prior to the Usyk fight, prior to the Michael Hunter fight, a lot of people on the internet were saying that he was the next cruiserweight version of Lomachenko. And even prior to the Brady's fight, a lot of people were saying he was just going to run through everybody in the tournament and that he was going to make easy work of Gassiev and Brady's. And lo and behold, he ended up having a tougher fight against Brady. So from my point of view, the fans were some fans, not all of them obviously, but some were overhyping Usyk. Even more. I'm talking more prior to the Michael Hunter fight when they were comparing him to being a cruiserweight version of Lomachenko. That was overhyping because he hadn't proven himself or even put in the type of performances that Lomachenko had. Dancing around people and making them quit. That was my version of fans overhyping somebody, but right now
everybody has fanboys. You know what I mean? Everybody.
Yeah, that's
has
true.
Fanboys.
That's true. What I'm saying right now is that Usyk has cemented his position as one of the top cruiserweights, if not the best. Because even in my point of view, even if you struggle against a top fighter, the mere fact that you took on the top fighter and that you beat them, you're not gonna have an easy night at the office all the time. So I don't take points away from Usyk because he had a hard fight against Brady's.
You won't have an easy fight against Gassiev either.
He schooled him, but he schooled the guy. Like, he won 9 rounds. I mean, he beat the living dog shit out of the guy. Did he get hit a little bit? Sure. Yeah, he whooped Briedis' ass. He was landing like 2-1 in that fight. I mean, he beat his ass.
I saw
like,
both guys
exchange. Won 4 rounds, I'm fucking Mother Teresa.
The British commentators didn't see that.
Well, wow, fuck British commentators. Man. And where was the fight taking place anyway? And he beat the living dog shit out of that guy. Yeah, he got hit a little bit, and yeah, it was a tough fight. Don't get me wrong, but man, he outlanded the guy 2-1. I don't understand what people are saying.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is he was supposed to
exactly the kind of performance that I expected. Anyway.
But it was supposed to be easier. That's what I'm saying. See, that's the whole point about overhyping. Is that when people make somebody out to be a guy that's going to be winning all the rounds and knocking guys out if he wants to, or that he can beat a guy with one hand.
Brady's last
people underrated
performance wasn't
Briedis
that
because
good.
they didn't.
But exactly, his last performance was.
People
wasn't
don't
that
know who
great.
he was. people didn't know who the guy was.
All right, but I'm not
come on,
arguing
the guy
that.
knocked out Char with the fucking step back combination. Like, the guy is no joke.
But that's what I'm saying.
No, what I
Overhyping,
mean, like,
calling somebody a hype.
it
Well, hold on. I just want to say something. That's exactly my point. Fanboys, for the most part, are the ones that hype somebody up, and most of that overhyping stems from ignorance and from lacking the ability to, instead of pulling the trigger and saying, "Oh, this guy's the best. Oh, this guy's a bum." How about we just take the time to watch somebody develop, like with Dubois. Let's watch him develop, and then when he finally fights somebody with some experience or has some heart or who still has some fight left in him, then we can make a proper decision. But until then, I don't think anybody should be throwing the word.
Legit boxing fans, like proper boxing fans, do think that way though. Like, they do say, look, let's wait and see what this guy's got. Let him step up through the levels, and then we'll see how good he is. The proper boxing fans do think that way.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You need several fights to make a proper evaluation, though. You can't just base it. Some people base a fighter on one performance, and they go like, "Well, he's a bomb," or "He's the next best thing," just based on one fight. That's a bit of what's going on with Joshua. Let's be honest. I mean, he beat Klitschko. It was a tough fight, but now he beat Klitschko. Now he's like this great fighter, and then he just fought Takam after the Klitschko fight. Let's see him fight another fight. Man.
I mean, it depends. I mean, look, the guys are probably thinking Usyk is a hype job. I mean, obviously, they don't know what they're talking about. But I mean, there were some people that thought Usyk lost that fight. I disagree. I don't think he lost that fight. I thought it was a close fight. I had it about 8-4, 7-5 Usyk. I mean, some people had it white. I could understand, but let me finish. But some people thought he lost. So the people that thought he lost are obviously gonna make their feelings known because they didn't agree with the decision. And I don't agree with that. I don't think you should be doing that because you should be open-minded. It was a close fight. I don't think Bradis won. Going on the criteria, I think Usyk won that fight.
No one thought Briedis won that fight. They're just lying.
There were a couple of people I seen online. I mean, I heard the Hatman channel had
Hatman's trash. Come on, that dude is trash.
No, I know. I'm just.
He thought Andre Ward beat Sergey Kovalev.
I know. That's what I was gonna.
Come on.
That's what I was gonna say. So I mean, there were some people.
I totally lost respect for Hatman. Respect for that guy. Totally.
He's not credible. I mean, there were some people that thought he won that fight. I don't think they did. They probably have to rewatch it. But I mean, people are gonna say stuff like that if they got an agenda, or if they disagree with something and they haven't rewatched the fight, they're gonna say stuff like that. But Usyk is not.
I remember Hatman. Yeah, Hatman blocked me on Facebook because Canelo fight. He was calling him everything, saying Trout was gonna outbox him, and he put his life on Trout winning. Well, after the fight, I stuck up an Alvarez picture of him smiling with his Mexican flag, and the little sensitive little bitch blocked me, didn't he? I mean, the guy's got no credibility.
You know the Hatman guy. He gets swayed by the commentary because after the Ward Kovalev fight. And that's when I don't really listen to him, but I listened to a couple of videos. That's when I knew the guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He said Ward clearly won that fight. And the only guys that thought Ward... Some YouTube... What is it?
Paulie
Malignaggi. Only guy that thought. And Paulie Malignaggi was biased as hell. I mean, he had a 5-1 to Ward after 5-1, after 6 rounds.
He's full of shit.
5-1, I mean, come on. Seriously, he gave Kovalev 2 rounds. He scored the first round at 10 round. The first round.
Yeah, no, Paulie's out of his mind.
6 rounds, he had Ward winning 5-1. I don't know. I think Ward clearly lost that fight, and that's a fight that I don't think was close. I mean, if you think that's a close fight, I don't know what a close fight is. I mean, it's a competitive fight, but Ward clearly got outboxed. And
Paulie hasn't been quite right since Sean Porter.
The Porter.
Two of my favorite fights to rewatch is that one and Maidana Bronner, man. Love both of those guys.
Malignaggi hasn't been the same since Rona took his side piece.
What about
Hey, I'll tell you what though. He's been tipped off the edge. He's actually lost his mind, Faganaggi. He's tipped off the edge. Conor McGregor's in his head. He's ruined him.
Yeah, man.
It's like he's in love with McGregor.
Who's with him or Kellerman?
I think that's a good question.
I'd say Malnaji. I think Kellerman's, but I'd rather listen to Kellerman. I know Kellerman when he's around Ward and Roy Jones can be a bit annoying, but Malnaji is awfully biased. I think
He's like on cocaine, man.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think Malnaji is
Seriously.
an all day. I mean, I think he's some sort of his obsession with McGregor is quite scary as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's true, man. It's like,
Malinagi's he's perfect to be a narrator of Goodfellas 2 or something like that, or The Godfather 4. He's got that perfect voice, isn't he? When it comes to boxing, he like said free, can he?
now listen, if Paulie was in Goodfellas,
his biceps, I mean, isn't touchable.
He always favors
Loves Mayweather.
boxers.
Yeah, he always favors
favors boxers that are on the back foot. Gets pretty
No, but
annoying.
What was Ward doing? Ward was getting outbeaten just because he's the quote unquote boxer on paper. I don't know how you could score that fight. I mean, he had Ward winning 5 out the first 6 rounds, and Kovalev was clearly dominating the fight. I mean, if you really want to be biased, you could give probably Ward about 2 rounds out the first 6.
Yeah.
But that's pushing it. But giving
They
him
weren't
5
gonna let a
rounds-
Russian win against an American.
well, look, are we really
Well,
gonna get
yeah.
into that? We're not gonna get
Yeah,
into
we're
that
gonna go
fight
back to
again,
that.
man.
Yeah, fuck
I just want to read. I want to read the
This is-
comments on the chat real quick. Fam Ollie says Maidana Broner is a classic replay. Boxing Style says Paulie wants a big fight with Conor. Fam Ollie continues saying Max Kellerman is good, but I can't stand him around Ward. Recognize the Matrix says Paulie is a well-known cokehead. And Covert Opera says Sergey Kovalev. Now that is a hype job. HBO removed all footage of his beatdown and flooring against Boone. First of all, is there footage of the first Boone fight? I don't think I've ever seen it. Or maybe that's his point. But there's
I don't
no.
know, I heard Kovalev got dropped.
Yeah, but there's
he
no
got
footage of the
dropped once
fight,
or
right?
twice. He got dropped once.
So
and
wait, let me
got
get this
scored.
straight. HBO removed Sergey Kovalev's Boone fight, but not Andre Ward's Boone fight. Really? Is that what happened? Give me a fucking break, man.
Yeah, the Boone fight is still out there for about Ward and how he was staggered
They
and
have an
dropped.
agenda. They have an agenda.
Well, Boxing Fairy Tale
Yeah,
says.
they love the
but-
Russians, don't they?
Yeah, I want Darnell Boone and Adonis Stevenson 1 fighters up still.
That fight never happened.
No, there's a clip, 10 seconds.
Yeah.
There's a clip on YouTube.
Is it still
And it
there,
gets
by the
cut
way?
off when Steven,
Is it still there, Hamed?
The fight they removed was Wilder getting dropped by Harold Sconias.
But wait, Hamed,
That's what I heard. I think
the
they-
Stevenson fight,
Yeah.
the Stevenson clip getting dropped by Boone, is it still there? Because I think somebody took it down.
Darnell,
No, it's
Darnell,
deep.
I spoke to Darnell Boone about that about a year ago. He's actually got the tape of the whole fight, but he's
Whoa.
not allowed to pull it up. He's not allowed to pull it up.
He's not
Why?
allowed.
Why?
By whom? Who's not allowing him to do that?
So he didn't say that. I mean, I don't know if he's getting paid or not to not post it, but he's not posting it up.
Man, I would love to see that footage of the first fight. Again, I think there's only
There's
people that
footage.
were there.
There's footage available. Type it in.
No, but
There's
it's-
a KO, 10 seconds.
Yeah, I've seen the
10
10-second clip,
the
but I
knock.
want to see the whole fight.
Oh, I thought you said you wanted to
Any
see
chance,
it.
if there's any chance of seeing Adonis Stevenson getting his ass kicked, I'll watch it.
Okay, come on. Why do people get? First of all, if you hate Stevenson, he's gonna come after you apparently. So, by the way, Alexander Gvozdyk is fighting right now according to Akuma's Deception. So it's already 8 o'clock. The ESPN card has officially started, I believe, on ESPN. I don't know if they're delaying it or if it has started right now. So we're gonna go ahead and end this in order to catch it. But before we do that, let's go to the chat and thank everybody that was there. Michael Stock, Aaron Kuko, Kyle, Jesus Rodriguez, Recognize the Matrix, Fam Oli, Chris Gonzalez, Boxing Style, Akuma's Deception, 3-Piece Boxing. Come on, who else? I gotta go by this fast. Boxing Style, Omar Ali, Aaron Kuko, Dean Perxio, Covert Operative was in there as well. Chris Gonzalez, I think.
Whoever that guy was who's on the podcast who sounded like Dave Higgins, he can talk for fucking hours, man.
Yeah, well, he's got. By the way,
Corruption in boxing.
yeah, Corruption in Boxing, man. Check out his channel. Thank you, Corruption, for having been here. I know he already left, but check out Corruption in Boxing channel. Michael, do you have a channel, or it's the Twitter that we
It's a
always
podcast.
Yeah, it's a podcast on Twitter. I try to upload the link every day.
All right, perfect. So we're gonna link that Twitter in the description. I want to thank Stu as well for having been here. As always, very entertaining. I also want to thank Precise Puncher for having been here. Check out his channel, Precise Puncher on YouTube. And check out Cameron's. Also, he's got a Twitter page where you can see all of his work, all of his writing that he does. He's a boxing journalist. So on behalf of BD...
Can I say something?
Real quick.
Can I just say something? I wanted to say, you know the hype job thing. I just want to make a point. With Golovkin, a lot of people have said Golovkin is a hype job. I mean, it's definitely debatable. I mean, he's fought about 36 BC level opposition and he blew him out. And when he stepped up, he hasn't really beaten him convincingly. If we're gonna go on that standard, so I just wanted to say that. I mean, I think that was a topic that is a big thing that you could have added in the topic. I mean, if we want to go on, if that's how people rate what a hype job is. A lot of people thought Jacobs beat Golovkin. I disagree. I think Golovkin beat him. But some people thought Canelo beat him as well. I don't think Canelo beat him. I think the Jacobs fight was probably much closer. But I mean, if that's how you define the hype job, I mean, it's definitely debatable. But
all right,
I don't think it's true. I don't think Golovkin is a hype job.
We'll continue that conversation later because, like you said, it is a good subject, and even we can cover that for hours. And I also want to talk about with corruption in boxing, about what he was saying about the connection there with Las Vegas and Bob Arum. That's an interesting conversation to have right there. But Bucho, my producer, told me to keep it moving, so I can't argue with Bucho. You know, he ducks money out of my pay if I don't do what he says. But guys, don't forget to subscribe to BDA Live. Don't forget to subscribe to BDA Boxing, or main channel. That's where we have the film analysis. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Next time, come in, guys. You know, I know there's a lot of people in the... Oh, shout out to Dennis Page, who just subscribed. And anyway, we gotta go see the fights right now. They're already starting. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one, folks. Take care.
Bye.